This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Do Go On. My name is Dave Warnicky and as always I'm here with Matt Stewart and Jess Perkins.
Hey Dave, hey Jess.
Hi Matt, hi Dave.
Hello.
So good to be hanging out with you once again.
And you're not sick of us yet?
No, love it.
Wow. Coming up to 5 years of doing, is that right? Coming up to 5?
Yeah, 5 years next month.
And you're still in love with us is what I'm getting from you, Matt?
I'm still deeply, madly, truly in love with you.
Oh, sorry that you had to hear that, everyone. But it's nice to connect every now and then.
I still look forward to it every episode. I can't wait to do it. Sometimes when I've written the report, I feel some trepidation.
Yes.
But when I'm coming in to listen to a Dave or Jess report, I feel so excited and happy to be here. Pumped up. Can't wait.
And are you even more pumped up because it is now officially block season?
Woo!
It is my favourite month of the year. I love Blocktober. It is the best. For new listeners, Blocktober is where we do the most requested topics of the year and sometimes of all time. But, so this
big,
is our
baby.
third year
big.
of doing it. It's big. It's the biggest thing in podcasting and possibly in world media.
I believe so, yeah. I can't think of anything world media-wise that is bigger than it.
Yeah.
I don't think anything's ever trended on Twitter the entire month before, but this, I assume, will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hashtag block.
It has the last 2 years, so I don't see why it wouldn't this year
Going
as well.
for a three-peat?
Everyone put those block hashtags out there. Everybody.
Everyone. Even if it's not relevant to your tweet.
Well, this year's block was so big that we thought there's only 4 Wednesdays, which is when this episode comes out in Australia, in October. So we decided to annex, as Matt put it last week, which I really loved, a 5th Wednesday. So last week was actually the first episode of Block, where we covered the O.J. Simpson trial, something that people have been requesting basically the entire time we've been doing this show. And I've got another all-time request up for you today. But before we get going, Matt, how does this show work?
Oh, well, the way it works is, well, one of us will go away and research a topic, in this case, which has been voted on by the listeners, and they bring that research back. They'll put it into a report form and they'll come back and report it to the other two, while the other two sit quietly and respectfully and listen along, maybe occasionally interjecting to say, I'm really enjoying this report.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
Or to ask very relevant and pertinent questions.
Pertinent is the key there. Only pertinent. It's an unwritten rule we have on this podcast. You're going to ask a question, better be pertinent.
Better be pertinent. Dave, last week, obviously, with Matt's O.J. Simpson report, which was fantastic, but also a huge topic to take on. So it was a mammoth episode. Probably, is it one of our longest or is it the longest?
I believe last week was the longest ever.
Incredible.
Was it really? Oh, wow.
So how are we looking today, Dave? Do I need to go get snacks is essentially what I'm asking in a roundabout way.
I think we've got another whopper on our hands.
God damn.
You should have got the snacks out. And that goes for you at home as well.
I brought a navel orange, the greatest eating orange of them all. So looking forward to cracking that open at some point. And hopefully the listeners enjoy hearing me munching along.
Well, let me tell you.
Wow, that's really interesting.
I got to say, you're unlikely to feel hungry throughout this episode.
Okay.
Okay.
So I should just get a very thick drink,
Yeah,
maybe?
or just for the first half of the episode, you'll be right. But then back half, it's not really hunger-inducing, I got to say.
All right. Snack early. That's what you're saying.
It's weird for our listeners to have picked something that was a bit off by the sounds of it.
Bit grim by the sounds of it.
Well, it is a bit off, and I believe that you both know what the topic is which is unusual. Usually you don't know the topic.
Jess is shaking her head. I'm going, I remember it, but I can't think of what it's called or what it's about.
Yeah, I've
but
forgotten.
I definitely do know what it was.
Well, because my question was just going to be, because we always start with a question to get onto topic, it was just going to be, what was the 4th most voted topic for Block 2020?
Okay.
What is it? It's called the something exploration or something like that.
I'll give you a clue. There ain't no party like a something.
Dover party.
Donna.
Donna.
Dover, you
Donna
fucking
party.
idiot. Donna party.
There ain't. I hope that hopefully there's no party like that. From the very small thing I know about it, yeah, things went wrong. It sounds like about halfway through things went awry.
Yeah, that's right. That's when you stop munching on your snacks.
I've definitely put the Donna party up for a vote, I reckon, before, and it's obviously not one, otherwise we would have done it. But I've skimmed Wikipedia, but I don't know much, so I'm a bit excited about this.
I feel like this might be one of those topics that's big in America and maybe not so big elsewhere.
Yeah. So when I was researching it, I was sort of I got the vibe that it was a bit like Ned Kelly and the Kelly Gang here in Australia, where we're all, most Aussies are vaguely aware of the details, but how much you know really differs from person to person. So I think a lot of people have like the one paragraph summary where they go, oh, that's the party where this happened. But I don't know if everyone knows all the details. So hopefully I fill in a few blanks, even if you have grown up knowing this in your country's folklore.
Yeah, a lot of Americans have the Donna party helmet tattooed on their back.
Yeah. Is
there going to be a helmet in this? Because otherwise, is it really folklore?
Is there some kind of shoot up at a pub?
There's a bit of shooting in this.
Okay.
This story's got it all. It's actually it is honestly up there with OJ with one of our most requested topics and has been in the nearly 5 years we're doing this show. I reckon it's been in the hat that whole time. I even went back to the original hat and it was in there a couple of times. It's actually been suggested by a whopping 29 people.
Wow.
Do we have time for me to read out these names?
Oh, you got it. Let's just do them quickly.
That's my snack time.
I won't say where people are from.
Just before we get into it, I won't stop like I normally do after each one and say what a great name. Just this is a blanket. These are all great names. And I haven't even heard them yet, but I'm assuming. Do you like how we're getting into it quickly?
Well, the first name...
give me a chance to, after I hear them, I'll confirm or deny.
Okay. Well, the first name's going to blow you away. Oh. I'll let you comment on the first name, and that is Emily.
Whoa.
Oh, that's it. That's it. I love it. That is fantastic. What a name. Is that two names or one name?
That's one name, no hyphens.
One name. Okay, Emily.
So
classic name.
Thanks to Emily, and then so some people just gave their first name, so maybe you'll know this is you. Emily, Garrett Oakley, Tobias, Jared Schaefer, Mackenzie Castaneda, Mark Belcombe, Ian Watson, Matteo Ocampo, Ronan O'Neill, Brandon Castaneda, a different Castaneda, wow. Jacoby DeAngel, Mike Winkler, Jesse Britton, Louis Wagner, Ryan Campbell, Emily Hyatt, Danny McMeans, William Young, Joshua Curie, Stephen Tucker, McKenna Middlebrook, Gabby Falcioni, Joseph Nataro, Drew Lamas, so good, Tobias Keynes, Emily Knutson, and way back from the old hat, Kelvin M. Parker, bang.
My God.
That is so, they're a group of some of the finest names ever assembled.
There was two Tobiases in there. I don't know a single Tobias.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it?
And there were quite a few patron supporters in there as well. Mm-hmm. What a great list of names. That's awesome.
So good.
I'm feeling so confident this is going to be a great story.
Well, let us jump into it.
Hashtag block.
Hashtag block forever. So give me a second to give you a bit of a background here, guys.
Okay.
We're going back to...
Is this is still included in the podcast?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We're going back to 1845.
Ah.
So in 1845, newspaper editor and columnist John O'Sullivan coined the term manifest destiny, which is the belief that in the United States of America, the land between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans belonged to European Americans and that they should settle it all.
Oh, my God.
So that encompasses all the land for you playing at home. The idea is that the United States is destined by God to expand its dominion and spread democracy and capitalism across the entire North American continent.
Hey.
Right.
And this term really took off.
Okay.
According to history.com, quote, the philosophy drove 19th century US territorial expansion and was used to justify the forced removal of Native Americans and other groups from their homes, end quote.
Because it's our destiny to take it.
Well, if that is what God wants, I guess.
Yeah.
That seems like a weird thing for God to want, to be honest.
But they say he works in mysterious ways, so I
Apparently
guess this will
through
work
cruelty.
out for the best. I
Okay.
guess.
Go on, huh?
How about it?
How about him? Or her?
So that influential phrase, manifest destiny, was coined by editor John O'Sullivan in 1845. It should be noted that in the following year, investors were dissatisfied with his poor management and he lost control of his magazine. So I'm not sure if God had big plans for him after all. But his term lived on in the hearts of many Americans in the 19th century and justified a lot of what they did. Also, 1 year after coining the term, one of the most infamous journeys in US history took place. Their story has shocked and fascinated for the more than half a century that's passed since. I talk, of course, about the Donna Party, sometimes known as the Donna Reed Party.
Not the Dover party.
Not the Dover Party, sorry.
Different party.
Disagree.
Great to disagree on that one.
And let me just say, it is an absolutely fucked story, so let us begin.
Oh.
In the United States in the 1840s, the population was a bit shy of 20 million people, but it was growing rapidly. The largest population centres were mostly on the east coast and the Midwest of the country. Basically, if you're looking at the map, nearly everyone was contained in the eastern third of the country.
Right.
As a percentage of population, mostly in the eastern third. But with the rapid expansion and two economic depressions in the first half of the 19th century, more and more were starting to slowly move west to seek prosperity, mostly to Michigan, Arkansas, Wisconsin, and Iowa. And in 1846, famously, thousands of Mormons ventured east to Salt Lake City in Utah. But some families were beginning to venture even further west, all the way to the Pacific coast on the other side of the massive country, taking the Oregon Trail, which is a journey of thousands of miles.
Right. Wait, do you know where the name Oregon Trail comes from? It's just Oregon's the destination on the other side?
Yeah, that's a big part of it, yeah.
Right.
And thousands upon thousands would soon join them for the 1849 Californian Gold Rush. But before that, when this story takes place, it wasn't a super well-worn path.
Right.
So there's the background on what's happening in America at this time. Over in one of our favourite cities, Springfield,
What?
the capital of Illinois, in 1846, three families were preparing to travel to California. They were brothers George and Jacob Donna and their two families, and local businessman James Reed and his family.
Oh, poor Reed. So it's sometimes known as the Donna Reed Party because there was a guy called Reed and a family called Donna. And did the Reed guy not do as fucked up as stuff or what? I'm so curious as to find out why he's been banished.
No, James Reed features heavily in this story.
Okay.
I love that.
What were the Donna brothers' names again?
George and Jacob.
Thank you. George and Jacob.
Let me tell you about them. George and Jacob were elderly, prosperous farmers. Elderly for the time, I should say. Who were
So
caught...
they're like 30?
Younger than me, probably.
Yeah, elderly.
No, they were in their late 50s, early 60s.
Right. Ancient.
And according to the fantastic and linked source DonnaPartyDiary.com, which... .com.
.com?
I always say .com. I panic.
.com?
It's a very saucy diary.
Oh. YouWill.com. If you read
That's
this
the
diary.
tagline if you Donna read this.
YouWill.com if you don't read this.
So DonnaParty.com or .com both list. I couldn't even get it right when I tried to fuck it up. It lists their diaries and it says, quote, George and Jacob had no reason to go to California. So there you go.
I mean, do we ever have a reason to do anything other than like eat and drink?
I must say,
to survive.
This month last year, I also went to California for a week and I had no reason to go there. Just had a good time.
What reason, Dave? You need a reason.
No,
I wonder if maybe they were just chasing their Hollywood dreams, heading over to Tinseltown,
that's
Yeah.
right.
looking for their big break, and they were too shy to say it in their diary.
What, is wanting some adventure and a change of scenery not a good enough reason to go on a trip? You're crazy.
Maybe they were just trying to find themselves.
Maybe they're just trying to find themselves.
Well, they'd already done a lot of travelling to find themselves. Born in North Carolina.
Oh, dear. All right, so
I paused. I put a pause in as Matt was peeling an orange.
fun fact, Michael Jordan played for North Carolina University, and during his time there had a lot of success. And he kept wearing his North Carolina shorts even through to his NBA career at the Chicago Bulls, but he wore them underneath his red Chicago Bulls shorts, obviously. And that meant that he had to have bigger, baggier Chicago Bulls shorts. And as his fame grew, the fashion of his big, baggy shorts grew as well. And now all the players in the NBA wear big, baggy shorts because of North Carolina University and those lucky MJ shorts.
Wow. Just 125 years earlier, the Donna Party brothers had been born there. And they'd already done a lot of travelling around the USA via wagon, migrating across the country as many as 5 times, all over.
Oh, wow.
They had heard of the wonders of California and decided to go for one last journey.
God, but moving house sucks.
Oh, it sucks. But moving wagon, your house is the wagon.
Hello. Okay. Less of a pack up, you know. Actually, I reckon without a lot of technology that we have now, moving house would be easier. You know? It's TVs and all the heavy shit. They didn't have couches back then.
No.
Yeah, having
Couches.
to organise your new electrical provider.
Totally.
All that sort of
Internet.
stuff. Internet. And,
Getting that connected in a timely manner, impossible.
George Donna was 60 years old and was accompanied by his third wife, Tamsin, who was
George.
45.
Ranking your wives is a bit off to me.
Yeah, that's not on. If you've married her, just call her your wife.
Oh, she's in the top 3.
Top 3 wives.
I mean,
I'd be all right with that.
he left number 4, 5 and 6 at home.
Yeah.
What had happened to the other wives?
I
Are they
think
still alive? You can't get divorced back then.
No, I think that all died. A lot of people were dying back then, and that continues on in this story. So
And today.
Yeah, it still happens. It's crazy that we haven't figured out how to stop death.
what? 150
I
years
know.
later, I'm sure they would have predicted we would have stopped it by now. But anyway,
I think
I know,
more
I'm
people are dying
embarrassed.
today than ever before.
wow, that's deep.
That's a huge take, Matt.
His third wife was Tamsin. She was 45, so a bit younger than him. Their 3 children were also there. Francis, 6. Georgia, 4. Eliza, 3.
This is George, and he named his daughter Georgia.
Yeah.
God damn it, George.
I love that.
He also brought his 2 daughters from a previous marriage, 14-year-old Elitha Kumi
Oh, she had a lisp.
and Leanna, 12. Jacob Donna, the younger brother, 56, he brought his wife, who was also 45, Elizabeth, and they had 5 children with them, ranging in ages from 9 down to 3, including George, Mary, Isaac, Samuel, and Lewis.
So 5 between the ages of 9 and 3.
Yeah.
They're really pumping them out.
And starting late. So were they were both in their 50s, you say?
Well,
She was
She
45.
was 45,
45.
and she'd already been married but widowed, and she brought along her 2 kids from a previous marriage, Solomon Hook, who was 14,
Fantastic.
and William Hook, who was 12. So she had a 14, a 12, a 9, a 7, a 5, a 4, and a 3-year-old.
There are so many kids
Bingo.
in this.
I mean,
Oh.
there's one question that comes to mind.
How do you entertain them? You can't just put them in front of the TV or give them a tablet.
I know. Well,
It's a nightmare
You
on a
could
journey.
give them a tablet. Be cyanide or something like that back then, probably.
it sounds like the TV is not working, you know what I mean? All right.
That's another good one. Well, bloody TV not working in your house. I think I'm going to start just being incredibly blunt and be like, oh, you like to have sex with your wife?
All right.
All right. Oh, someone's having sex with their spouse.
So they've got lots of kids. Each brother had 3 wagons and 2 teamsters, a term I'd only ever heard on The Simpsons when Homer tries to out-yawn and relax them when they're filming the Radioactive Man movie.
Oh, yes. Just watched that recently, actually. Watch out, radioactive man.
Said Jiminy Jillikers so many times, it's lost all meaning.
Millhouse, we need to do the Jiminy Jilliker scene again. We already did it. It took 6 hours, but we did it. But we need to do it again and again and again from different angles.
And again and again and again.
So they had 2 teamsters. I didn't know what that was, but that's Noah and Samuel, who were basically to drive the teams of animals on the journey because the wagons are pulled by horses and also oxes.
Oh, okay.
I love oxes. Love big
You love big ones.
animal. Love thick animals. Bison. Oh, they'd be out amongst the bison probably.
Yeah, this is real bison territory.
Bison country.
Bison era.
When I was at Yellowstone, I heard a bison surrounded my car. It was one of the great moments. It
Cool.
was so cool.
Wow.
Love them big, fat-headed bastards.
I was
so
just
cool.
Just before we started watching, I was watching a video of a whale surfing.
What?
I was like, wow.
Another great big-headed animal. They're all head.
Real big animal.
Their head from all the way down to the tail. That's head.
They're all head, baby. There was like, because it's from like a drone, and you can see creatures in the water, and I was like, oh, those must be the whales. No, those were dolphins. And then the camera moves, and you see this gigantic, massive whale, and there's people surfing, and the whale just like catches the wave with them. It's like, whee! But it's huge.
That is crazy.
Biggest animal
big
to ever
animals.
exist is the blue whale.
That
Isn't
is
that wild?
absolutely amazing, isn't it? Throughout
It's an amazing fact. You'd assume a dinosaur it must have been a bigger dinosaur than the blue whale, but apparently not. Maybe one of my favorite ever facts. Is that a fun fact, Bob?
Yep.
Oh, I did not believe it.
Wasn't that fun?
Okay.
I feel like that's a well-known fact.
Oh, okay.
I
Well-known.
think it feels
fact.
well known because you brought it up a few weeks ago, Matt. You told us that Ben Russell told you that maybe?
Yeah, Ben. No, what he told me was that whales used to live on land, and they're also like a pig sort of dog kind of animal.
That's right.
And then they started in the ocean, then they came up on the land, evolved into these sort of pig dog things. That's not technically right, but something like that. And then they went back into the ocean and just without anything sort of holding them back, they've just grown and grown until they're. So I guess they're going to just keep getting bigger as they evolve. Amazing. They'll take it.
Sick.
Eventually, the ocean will just be one big blue whale,
Yeah.
That's a fun fact, sure.
and we'll all live inside of it. That's fun.
I thought so, but I'm not.
a bit of fun.
It's not my right.
Since last week, I started doing grim facts.
Got a couple for you this week. You
All right, well, I'll decide if they're grim or
you
not.
can judge for yourself. So that's George and Jacob's families and their wagon. The other family I mentioned was headed by local businessman, 46-year-old James Fraser Reed, who came to the USA from Ireland when he was a child. He had served in the same company as future President Abraham Lincoln during the Black Hawk War, briefly fought between the USA against the Sac Native Americans. So he knew Abraham Lincoln.
Wow.
Wow.
Reed, who was already wealthy, hoped to build an even larger fortune in California and also hoped the warmer climate on the coast might help improve the health of his 32-year-old wife, Margaret W. Reed. Also with them was their 3 children, Martha, James Jr. and Thomas, aged between 8 and 5. Also in tow was Mrs. Reed's daughter from her previous marriage. There's lots of marriages going on. Virginia Blackenstow, who was 13, and Mrs. Reed's mother, Sarah Keys, 75, oldest person on this journey.
I'm fascinated that these are 3 blended families in a time that I definitely associated with. I mean, I understand this, they're not like divorced, but they're widowed and then remarrying. But there's each of these families is really blended, and that's really interesting.
I think it comes in waves, doesn't it? That sort of stuff. It depending on whoever's leading the moral majority or whatever at the time, it'll change, and it'll often depend on what the king or the queen is up to. We want to get divorced, so divorce is cool for a bit, and then the next one comes in. Divorce is bad. You never leave me, and then no one. And then one guy's wearing a hat because he's got a bald spot, so then hats are polite inside. And then...
yeah, you're right. It's just
I don't know,
interesting
something like that.
That, you know, you can... It was always sort of seen as... It was different if the spouse had died and you remarried and had more children or whatever. But the fact that you would think that maybe one of these couples, it was a second marriage or a third marriage, you know, but it's like... all 3, it's second, third, you know, for each person. That's pretty, I don't know. I don't know why I found that so interesting.
I wonder if that was just common for everyone at that time, or because that's what had happened to them, that's why they became friends with each other, like they related to each other. Or maybe it was just common back then because of mortality rates and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think just depending on the kind of, assuming they're Christian, depending on the certain strain of Christianity, you'll have different rules about that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah, pretty interesting. But cool. Okay, so there's a shit ton of kids and an old lady.
An old lady. I don't really go into it too much, but she dies along the way pretty early from suspected tuberculosis.
Okay.
So she's the...
Is that a highly contagious one?
Yes, it is, but no one else seems to succumb to it.
Yeah, right. Well, this does definitely sound like the pilot episode of a sitcom. From
Road trip.
like a 1980s or 70s sort of one.
With a cast of 31.
It's sort of like one of those intro songs that just keeps going and going.
While they all back to back.
Introducing all the characters. And
They're all doing
there.
they're all doing a different activity, which is like so that character.
Yeah. And they wink at the camera.
Yeah.
Here comes Nana, she's about to die, but for the moment she's happy and alive.
And then they form the Brady Bunch square at the end, but there's so many you can't even see their faces. The squares are so small.
You're like, who's who?
So
Yeah, some sort of mix between Brady Bunch and what's that one where the people from the country become rich because they strike oil? Beverly Hillbillies. Somehow, because they're sort of
right, I think
the traveling nature of the Beverly Hillbillies. Blended families from Brady Bunch. I think you got yourselves a hit on your hand.
And Modern
the Donna
Family as well.
Party. The Donna Party. Do, 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 do. That's how they became the Donna Party. And then Reed is there at the end going, Donna Reed Party, shaking his fist.
Played by Tim Allen. Oh.
This is a hit show.
Netflix are interested.
If we could somehow go back in time, I don't know if that will quite work today, but back then.
We'll make it work today.
We'll make it work.
And we'll be rich.
Yes. We're
So-
striking black gold.
So they formed a group of 31, and their plan was to travel by 9-horse and oxen-led wagons all the way to California.
Hey, Jess, how stoked are you that the Nana died? Rounding it down to an even 30.
Hadn't even thought about that. I am actually thrilled about the death of an old woman. That is so good. 30 is a fantastic number.
Yeah, big time.
I'm just saying. It's really good.
Okay. Hey, Dave, sorry, you were about a word into that sentence. Please do go on.
30 of them, they're planned to travel by 9 wagons, led by lots of horses and lots of wagons, all the way to California.
That's 3.33 person per wagon. 9 wagons?
Yeah.
Just saying.
Depends if we're including Nana or not, doesn't it?
I'm not.
Are you only counting living humans, Jess?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not nearly dead humans.
Over the previous couple of decades, a passable wagon road had developed, making sure to tackle the 2 main obstacles that the parties had to overcome: the Great Salt Lake Desert in Utah and the Sierra Nevada mountains in California. The answer was a somewhat winding journey of 2,000 miles in a single summer and fall by oxen or horses at an average of 15 miles a day. In total, a voyage was expected to take about 5 months on average.
Whoa. How far is 15 miles? It's about 15 miles, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, it's about 1.6 kilometres to a mile. So it's 20-something.
24
They're going 24 Ks a day.
a day for 5 straight months. Well, I mean, to be honest, they have rest days. So on some days you have to walk further, actually. So
Holy shit.
That's hectic.
Reed was very wealthy, and his wagon wagons were very luxurious. His stepdaughter recalled 45 years later, "Our wagons, or the Reed wagons as they were called, were all made to order, and I can say without fear of contradiction that nothing like our family wagon ever started across the plains. It was what might be called a 2-story wagon, or pioneer palace car, attached to a regular immigrant train. Certainly no family ever started across the plains with more provisions or a better outfit for the journey."
What a
End
brag.
quote. I know.
It's like, oh, so you had a great head start. Well, let's assume that you get across easily then.
Yeah. Let's assume this works out really well for you then.
I know. Well, despite that, the question is, would it be enough?
I'm a guess no.
At the very least, we know that this woman survives.
That's
She's
true.
talking 45 years later.
Yeah, exactly.
What was her name? Was she the one with the lisp?
No, I don't. I didn't write down which of his daughters that was. It was the stepdaughter. So, no. I think of Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, from a previous marriage.
Virginia Hackenpack or
Right.
something like that. She had a great name.
Back and Stowe.
Back and stay.
Pack and pack, yeah. That's what Matt said.
Virginia Fanny Pack.
Virginia hack and fanny pack.
So the Donnas and the Reeds took off from Springfield on April the 14th, 1846. And within a month, the Donnas and the Reeds had reached Independence, Missouri, a hub of sorts where on May 12th they stocked up on supplies and joined a train of wagons heading west. The part of the train they joined was captained by Colonel William H. Russell, and through the journey, the group just grew and grew, so they're just picking up people at towns and cities on the way, and everyone's heading in that direction. Now, it should be noted that they were one of, if not the last major pioneer train to leave that year, leaving probably a month later than was ideal, meaning they had less time up their sleeve should something go wrong and delay them on the trip. So just keep that at the back of your mind.
Right.
Okay.
And this is for getting through winter time.
That's right. So they're racing to get through to the other side before the winter and the snow and that harsh weather sets in.
Right. Yep.
And everyone else, most other people have left at least a month earlier than this.
That's a big amount of time, I'd say, a month.
Yeah, it's not a week. It's much more than that.
If you're thinking, oh, geez, we're running a bit late today, a few hours late, maybe that's okay. But I reckon if you're waiting out the front and your mates and you're going on a road trip and your mates is like, no, we'll be out there soon and they're not out for a month, I would have called it off by then.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think we'll just, I
How
might
long,
head
how
off
long
by
would
myself.
you wait?
Oh, maybe half an hour, maybe.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's like, all right, fuck, either I'm going by myself or, something else. Yeah. If the mic picked up that horn, that's someone patiently waiting for their mates to go on a road trip.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out here.
And we can only go within 5K, so it's going to be a pretty shit road trip.
I pranked your mobile 15 minutes ago. Come out.
We've got to make good time on this.
So, but they honestly, they're looking at the calendar going, oh, we've still got time though. We've got time. Everything's going to go smoothly. We'll be able to make it still. That's what they're thinking. The group actually made good progress all the way to Fort Laramie in what is now southeastern Wyoming, covering roughly 650 miles or just over 1,000 kilometres in 6 weeks, which is about 15 miles a day. So far, so good. Bang on.
Right.
Okay.
What could possibly go wrong from here?
Oh, dear.
Well, enter a man named Lansford Hastings,
That's a good name.
That is a fantastic name.
who the usually impartial Britannica describes as, quote, an unreliable guide, end quote.
Oh.
So when Britannica whips out that sort of language, you know some shit is about to go down.
Britannica, you bitch.
I know. Oh,
God.
shit.
Sassy.
Now, Lansford Hastings had written a book called The Immigrant's Guide to Oregon and California, probably to make money and also possibly because he had a vision of building an empire in current-day Sacramento. So he wrote a guide to bring people over, but also he was selling it. So he's making money one way or another.
Right.
Yeah, win-win. At this point, he sounds like a savvy businessman.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sacramento goes on to be, if it's not already, the capital of California.
That's true. Home of the Kings.
Yeah. Home of the Kings. Used to be the home of, there's a few teams that have rolled through there. California's been funny because it's a lot of sporting teams just move around, like go from LA to San Diego and up again to Sacramento. Can't think of any exact examples. What is like the Raiders moved around a bit. They're in Vegas now.
Oh,
They used to be LA and they
And
were
Oakland?
also Oakland. Yeah. Had a couple of stints in Oakland, I think.
if I had to pick an NFL team, that was going to be the one.
Yeah, they had the best branding, right?
It looks cool. They
Yeah.
look cool.
Big time.
But there's a few claims as to who read the book or how the Donna party came across it. But it's certain that someone read it, this book that Hastings had written. In the book, or possibly long letter, who knows how you define a book back then, Hastings made...
What are books if not long letters?
It was hard to ascertain if it was like properly printed or someone was just handing out a pamphlet. Who knows?
Yeah, right.
But he made many claims. The most appealing to the Donna party was an advertised new shortcut across the Great Basin
Oh, dear.
that Hastings claimed would save the pioneers 350 to 400 miles off the usual route. And better still, it was on easy terrain, which sounds great, right? Who wouldn't take that shortcut if you knew about it?
That's a massive shortcut. Like, that shaves off a lot of
Huge. Weeks.
a lot of
weeks.
time. Yeah.
And it's better terrain, so you'd rather go that way anyway, even if it was the same distance.
Absolutely.
The problem, Jess, was that Hastings himself had never been to the route that he wrote about. In fact...
Hastings is an unreliable guide, I think.
I say.
Sorry to be such a bitch.
In fact, that route had never been tested at all.
Well, no.
So it's
In
not
fact,
like
that route doesn't exist
Yeah.
in any way.
there had been a route around these parts for about 30 years. No, basically, it's not even like he'd heard someone else talk about it and was like, oh, that's great. He just looked at the map and said, that'd work.
That
Look
looks
at
like
that.
a route to me.
That's quick. I know a route when I see one.
He sounds like a route rat right
Oh,
now.
he's an absolute route rat. According to legendsofamerica.com, another great source, which I will link, they had a great article on this. On the very day that the Illinois party headed west from Springfield, so when they left for the journey itself, Lansford Hastings prepared to head east from California to see what the shortcut he'd written about was really like. So as they're moving towards the shortcut, he's like, I better go check this thing out that I've written a book about.
And
He's
so,
leaving from California.
Yeah, he's on the other side.
Right.
Presumably, he's taken the normal route that everyone else at this time in history uses, the Oregon Trail.
Yeah, not listening to his own advice.
No, he'd never been there.
Now he's like, oh, I should probably go check out that
Go
shortcut.
double check in case anyone uses it, you know?
I should go double check in case anybody's put up a sign naming it after me. I should go check that out
Well,
because I'm a hero and I've saved everyone heaps of time.
it was named after him, Jess. It was called the Hastings Cutoff.
Of course.
Oh, dear. Now, what is our number one rule when travelling in a group across the wilderness?
Never split the party.
Never split the party! Bang on!
Never, ever split the party.
Which harks back to our fifth ever episode, Burke and Wills.
Was it that early?
yeah, it was one of the few that Dave and I recorded before you came on, and we
yeah.
re-recorded it with you. So I think it was my second report, so it would have been episode number 5. That's what Dave just
Wow.
said.
If I could be so bold as to call the Donna party the American Burke and Wills.
Okay.
Oh wow!
So that sets the tone of what we should expect.
Yep.
So we're gonna dislike them soon.
Yeah, we're going to get really mad at them.
Yep.
So when you
Cool,
said
cool,
they
cool.
were like the Ned Kelly, they were more like the Burke and Wills.
The Burke and Wills, I suppose you'd say. Yeah. I was thinking more Ned Kelly because it's kind of like folklore-y.
Yeah, I feel like Burke and Wills crosses into a bit of that as well. I knew their name growing up without ever knowing that much about them. I always assumed, which we would have talked about in that episode, that
Yeah.
they had some sort of success, which they, you could spin it in a way that they did. They were sort of the
Yeah.
first to do a thing, but
But they didn't do it well.
they sucked. They sucked so
sucked.
bad.
And now I know that they're idiots.
Yeah,
So when you see big statues of them, I'm like, stickhead.
especially Burke.
Yeah, Burke.
Especially Burke. What a big deal.
Right, okay. So
So you never split the party is something we came up with all the way back then because Burke and Wills kept doing that. And every time you split up the group, obviously, it never went well for them. And let me just say, no one should ever do it, especially these guys. Sadly, most of the large wagon train that they were a part of, remember that they're the group of 3 families, but then they've also joined hundreds of other people who are moving west in the wagon train. Most of the train opted to continue using the well-established Oregon Trail that everyone else is using. But a group of 87 chose to head south for Fort Bridger and then go for Hastings' shortcut, known as Hastings Cutoff, to save them the up to 400 miles on the journey.
Do you know what the number 87 is in cricket? It's an unlucky number. It's the devil's number
Oh, no, why?
because it's 13 runs from getting your
Oh,
century.
of course.
Isn't that funny?
Well, they should have recruited one person more and it all would have gone well. If Nana had lived. But she didn't.
Oh, Nana.
So they went for this thing. And this is despite the fact that at Fort Laramie, a few days beforehand, Our wealthy businessman and main player, James Reed, had run into an old friend from Illinois called James Kleiman. Again, according to Legends of America, Kleiman told Reed that he'd just travelled the new route eastward with Lansford Hastings. James Kleiman advised Reed not to take the Hastings route, stating that the road was barely passable on foot and would be impossible with wagons. Also warning him of the Great Desert and the Sierra Nevadas, the two main things that the Oregon Trail avoids. He said, "Don't go there, it's not good." Despite this warning from his old friend
Oh my God.
to take the normal route and definitely not use the Hastings cutoff, Reed ignored him in the hope of getting to their destination faster than the usual route.
But he just did it and told you, oh man, bad enough on foot, but you've got all these wagons with you. Yeah, no way.
Yeah, remember when
And it's actually a lot harder. You're better off going, sure, a longer way, but, you're going to live.
Sometimes there's a reason why the way is the way.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, there was what was the teen movie that had a line in it like that where they're like, the shortcut was proven really difficult. And they're like, that's why it's called a shortcut. If it was easy, it'd be called the way.
Oh, wow. That's not a great line.
Well, it stuck with me.
Yeah, you've got that tattooed on your back.
Yeah.
With Ned
I love
Kelly's
your
helmet.
tramp stamp, by the way.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I keep forgetting to tell you every week. I think, God, I love his tramp stamp.
Thank you. I always forget it's there. I never see it, but you're looking at it all the time.
All the time. And then I'm saying, Matt, can you please put a t-shirt
Come on,
on?
mate.
And why have
I'm
you got your back
too
to me when we're trying to record? Come on, mate.
So, are we in agreement that that is a pretty stupid thing to do?
Yes.
Yeah, this
that
sounds really dumb.
I mean, the fact that you're talking about it now isn't a good sign either.
Yeah.
No.
And you've sort of forewarned that this is going to go pear-shaped. But the fact that I thought they were just going to be unlucky and read this book, but having someone who's just gone down there and go against that, oh, silly.
Yeah, like remember how I told you that Hastings was leaving at the same time from them to check out his route? Well, this guy, Kleiman, was with him when he checked it out. And then he saw his old friend and said, whoa, 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 don't go down there. And then he ignored him anyway. So in total,
in
there
his
was...
mind, is like, yeah, you would say that. You don't want me to be a
Yeah.
big star. You're trying to keep it all for yourself, that sweet shortcut. Oh, dear.
I bet there's gold along the shortcut, and I bet you just don't want me to find the gold. So now I'm going to go and get all the gold.
Yeah.
You've always been jealous of me, Kleiman. You're always climbing. Yeah, you're a social climbing, you prick.
I love the phrase, you've always been jealous of me. I'm going to start using that more.
It's always said by someone who is clearly misguided as well.
Yeah. When someone's just genuinely trying to be helpful, like, you've always been jealous of me. You just don't want me to succeed. No, I just don't want you to make an idiot of yourself, but now I kind of do. Go for it. Yeah, you're right. I'm jealous. Prove me wrong, I guess.
So in total, there was 87 people in this breakaway group, 9 men, 15 women, and 43 children, all in a column of 23 ox-drawn wagons.
That's good. Luckily, they've got a lot of these. For something that's going to become physically hard, what you want is majority children.
Who are notoriously very good at hiking.
87 people, 9 men. Okay, how's he making up the rest? Honestly, for half a second, I thought, you're
15
counting
women.
the animals? Oh, children.
The rest are children.
Oh, that's bad. That is no good at all.
It's real bad.
It is bad. Those numbers are right. Maybe I think it actually is less than 87 by this point. More people have dropped off. I've just done the maths. That only adds up to 67. So sorry, everyone.
Wow. Well, that's 20 lives that were saved by going, actually, we might take the way.
Yeah.
Actually, we've got 10 kids with us, and I think we might just stick to the tried and true way.
We think we might just go down to that ball pit place down the road.
Yeah.
We'll chuck them in there for a while.
Yeah.
There's a pokies next door.
They say life changes when you have kids, and they're not wrong. So yeah, we're gonna head down to the ball pit. There's like a little arcade there and a cafe for mums and dads. So we're gonna head down there for a bit, refuel, try and tucker the kids out so they sleep on the rest of the journey.
Yeah, honestly, our pioneering days are behind us. when we only had 8 or 9 kids, sure. That was a bit of fun, no worries. But you know what they say? 10 kids, Too many. Too many for pioneering. You know that phrase?
I love that phrase. I've got it tattooed on my lower back.
You know what they say? 9 kids is like 1. 10 kids, like 100.
Yeah, really tips it over.
So there's between 67 and 87. There's a lot of people and there's a lot of kids. Let's just go with that. And George
Too many
Donna.
kids.
Yeah, that's
So many kids.
the one thing we can.
You should never be outnumbered by kids.
What are they thinking?
Never.
If they turn on you, you are fucked.
Isn't there...
You wouldn't be able to have that adult to child ratio on a school
No.
excursion. You wouldn't be allowed
No
to.
way, absolutely not.
Don't they say
You
never
should
work...
never be outnumbered.
Never work with children or animals. They're breaking the 2
Yeah.
big rules.
Yeah,
I mean, that is hard for people who work at, children farms, but
yeah.
pioneers even,
Come on.
Pioneers.
they can stick to that rule. Leave the kids at home.
Yeah, they'll be right.
Put them on the
Go
train.
pioneering.
Put the kids on the train, say you'll meet them at the other end. I'm assuming there's a fast rail on this route.
Yeah, but it's more, it's fun for kids, but adults find it boring, you
Yeah.
know?
Where's the challenge?
Yeah.
The train is a child-sized Thomas the Tank Engine, but it goes very
Oh,
fast.
so fast. Like someone pushes it really fast from one
It's got
end.
those wind back wheels. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they wind it up until it locks, and so
Yeah,
that it's
it's
got a
gonna
bit of
go.
steam.
It does that the whole way. That's why parents hate it.
So George Donna was elected as the leader of the group, and that's why it's often referred to as the Donna Party.
Right.
Okay. Much to Reed's dismay.
Reed put his hand up as well, I'm sure.
Apparently he
Of course he did.
I honestly think that he did it, but he was just quite unpopular.
Okay.
Yeah, he sounds like a pain in the ass. I don't know why. I made that assumption there, but I'm sticking with
Who's
it.
the one that made who was told to not go that way and overruled?
Reed.
Yeah, that was really...
That's okay. Well, that's why, Jess.
You're right. Thank you for drawing that line for me, because I was like, why do I dislike
I'm
this
not
guy?
sure why I've got a bad feeling about this idiot. All right.
Can't for the life of me figure out why I
I mean,
hate
he's a
him.
moron. I know that. But why do I hate him?
So they continued on. The group received a letter on horseback from Hastings, who they saw as the cut-off expert, and the letter stated that he would meet them at Fort Bridger, and then lead them through the cut-off himself.
I'm glad it wasn't called fraught, because that'd be another bad sign.
Oh, well, this letter actually helped relax any trepidation the group may have been feeling about the lesser-known cut-off. Because they're like, the guy that wrote the book's going to meet us there and take us through it. It's going to be easy.
Yeah, 100% that would put your mind at ease. If you didn't know
Yeah.
the fact that he's never been there before.
Well, they reached Fort Bridger, where they expected to meet Hastings. But when they got there, he was nowhere to be seen.
Huh.
He'd already left with another group and left a note indicating that the Donna Party should try and catch up to them.
Right. Oh, that's
I
interesting.
mean, he sent the letter to them. They didn't say, hey, could you guide us through? And he was like, yeah, all right, but I'm leaving on this. He was like, meet me here, I'll guide you. And then he just fucked off without him.
He just left.
Oh, there's so much going on here and all of it feels a bit off. This is an amazing story, I can tell.
Well, so they decided to actually have a little bit of a rest and resupply for what they expected to be a 7-week journey. This is now late July.
This is the final 7 weeks in their mind?
Yes.
Wow,
Yep.
okay.
So they've already been going for how long?
Since April.
Oh, damn. So they've been on the road for a really long
Yeah,
time.
been on the road for 3 months, hoping that it'll be about 2 more months and then they'll be there. Bang on, perfect, missed the snow.
Yep.
And they're hoping that they're going to catch up to Hastings, the expert on the new trail.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first week or so, the group made good progress and all seemed pretty good, making 10 to 12 miles a day. Not that much further than the 15 that, you'd hope to average.
But they also don't... Do they know when he left? Like, do they know how far ahead he is? Like, what if he'd left a week before? Or,
I don't know this for certain. I'd hope that he would have put a date on it, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's pretty good terrain. They're like, so far so good. But soon they found the terrain to be much more difficult than described by Hastings.
Oh, you don't say.
More like how it was described by his old friend?
Yeah.
Yeah. The one who'd actually done it, unlike Hastings.
But Hastings wrote directions and left letters stuck to trees to encourage them.
Oh, so they know they're on the right path.
And they continued on, So they'd see it and go, oh, yep, this is the right way. Yep, hopefully we're gaining on him. We'll catch up to him. But a week later, on August 6th, they found a note from Hastings attached to a forked stick, warning the party that the route ahead through the Wasatch Mountains was much more difficult than he had thought, and that rather than follow the other party that he was leading, the Donna should set up camp, wait for him, and then he'd come back for them and then show them a better way.
I'd say he's trying to be helpful, Hastings.
Well, okay.
I mean, he's
no.
not being super honest. Oh, well, he seems like he's trying to be helpful.
That's right. To them, they're like, oh, great, we've got the expert. He'll come back. But they had a bit of a dilemma at this point. They could turn back to Fort Bridger and take the established route.
Oh, do it.
But this would result in losing several days because they're already a little bit way down the path. They'd have to turn around and basically give up that time.
Do it, please do
It
it.
would have just been a pointless detour.
Yeah, exactly. And they would have been like, well, that cost us a couple of weeks, but
Yeah.
oh well. They decided...
And we don't have a lot of time up our sleeves to lose.
Yeah, I think that's what made them think that they...
It would have been
Instead to
hard, yeah.
Yeah, they decided instead to wait for Hastings.
But you also don't know how soon Hastings is going to be back. So it could be the same amount of time that you're just
that's a good
waiting
point.
there that you could have gone back and
Well,
And
you
just kept
you
going
are
from
absolutely bang on, Jess, because 8 days later, he still hadn't arrived.
so they definitely could have gone back.
Yep.
Fuck.
So they sent some riders ahead to meet up with him, because obviously it's quicker just to ride on horseback than travel in with a big group like he was, so you could catch up
And
to him.
mostly children.
Yeah, exactly. Kids don't move that quick. So they sent some riders ahead to meet up with him, and he gave the travellers instructions to follow another trail, which they did. The problem was, it was even worse than the other route.
Fucking hell.
So he just had a stab at it. He's a
he
real
was like-
blagger.
Yeah, he was like, oh, the route I'm on's no good. Take another one. And it was even worse. They encountered exceedingly difficult canyons where boulders had to be moved, trees had to be cut down, and thick foliage, or foliage, as Marge would say, had to be removed to make way for the wagons. This obviously slowed them down a lot, and their progress crawled to about 1.5 miles, or 2.4 kilometres a day, 10% of the speed that they should be travelling.
Shit. That's not good.
Again, they thought about turning back, but James Reed in particular advocated continuing on to the cutoff. That's right, they hadn't even got to the shortcut yet.
Oh my God. They're not in the shortcut. They're trying to get to the shortcut, but trying to get to the shortcut has already massively delayed them.
It's cost them a few weeks already, and Reed's like, no, I reckon we're already in. We're going to get close. We'll make up for it.
Oh, no.
He must be feeling the pressure because he was the one that said they should go for it.
Yeah, I think
So
he's
now
doubling
he's sort
down.
of doubling down, yeah.
Yeah.
Always chase. This is one of the old joke rules we used to say, having a bit of gambling. Always chase your losses.
That is exactly what he's
Because
doing.
like the rule is never chase your losses, but we used to say, oh, you're down a bit on the punt? Always chase your losses. The only way out. I was like when Homer was stuck in quicksand and he's like, it's easy. I'll just pull my legs out with my hands and pull my hands out with my face. Double down. It'll always get you out of trouble.
They took a vote amongst the group and elected to continue on to the shortcut. Some of the wagons had to be abandoned because of the terrible terrain, and the group began to show signs of fracturing. They openly began to blame Hastings and soon James Reed.
Yep. So
That's about
accurate.
right,
Yes. You're nailing it. You're not, sometimes they'll throw blame around. Like, I feel like that happened a bit with Burke and Wills where there'd be blame on certain people and we'd be watching it like, what are you talking about? But in this case, spot on.
Yep. The Donna party finally made it through the Wasatch Mountains, arrived at the Great Salt Lake on August 30th. Hastings' route had cost them 18 valuable days.
Shit.
A note left by Hastings told them that crossing the Salt Lake would take only 2 days. Well, it took 5 because the desert sand was moist and deep and bogged the wagons.
Oh, no.
The Salt Lake was a barren plain, perfectly flat and covered with white salt, and described as one of the most inhospitable places on planet Earth. And they're trekking
They
across
haven't
it.
been to my ex-wife's house.
What's her house like?
Very cold.
Covered in salt.
Covered in salt. My ex-wife is a horse.
She's super salty because of the way we broke up.
Yeah. She still, totally wants me back, though, eh?
Get over it, Suzanne. Move on.
You horse. Just wanted to point out I'm not being derogatory towards my former wife. She is, in fact, quite literally a horse. Look, I had a bit of fun with that.
I love it.
I apologise.
How'd you? So I remember it was hard for you to get her to do her vows at the weddings, but you had to put peanut butter on her gums.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of saying I do, she kept saying nay. It was very confusing.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think she wants this.
Is that no?
Does she object? Yeah.
And you kept saying no. That's how she says yes.
Yeah. And then I came across as quite domineering, which is not my personality at all. We were very much equals in our marriage.
Okay.
We were. She loved me.
Okay. I mean, yeah. Who are we to say? We only looking in from the outside. So
Our wedding night went for a roll in the hay, literally.
She loves it. She loves to roll in the hay.
So they're crossing the Salt Lake. It's supposed to take 2 days. It takes 5. Their water supply was nearly exhausted on day 3.
Oh, boy. You need that. You need water.
Yep. And on that same day, 32 of the thirst-crazed oxes ran away, meaning wagons had to be abandoned altogether.
whoa,
Wait,
that's a
32
lot of
of them?
oxen.
Yep.
32 ran away.
32.
How did that happen? How do 32 run away? That they've been talking for a few days, I think.
They've been chatting to
They've
each
been
other.
plotting
for sure.
it. I do want to ask though, Dave, you said they ran out of water. Did they still have Gatorade though?
Oh, yeah. They've got heaps of They've got a vending machine in that pimped up wagon at the front.
That Hydrolite.
A really good one.
Yeah. So they're not fully dehydrated just yet.
Oh, no, they just
But
ran
once
out
they
of...
run out of Gatorade, they're fucked.
Oh, my God.
Puts back in what the sweat takes out.
Yeah, I think you can only live for like 3 days without Gatorade. I think that's right.
Yeah. And soon they'd have to start drinking either urine or Powerade, and I know what I'd pick.
Yeah. Urine. That was
Yeah.
that was the joke you
God,
were
that
making.
piss would taste great. Yeah.
Thought just in case, because I knew there would be a tweet coming later where someone would have said, Dave, it almost sounded like
What?
you were saying
what'd you say?
urine. So these,
It almost sounded like you think you were making the joke that Powerade tastes worse than urine. Oh, okay.
so I think these ox, that wouldn't have happened on Twitter. That would have happened on YouTube, that comment. But the ox, you reckon they chatted? They got in each other's ears and they're like, a couple more days of this and we're fucking off.
Let's make a break for
How
it.
do 32 of them? Are they like sheep where they just follow
The
each
other
other?
thing,
I don't think
I
they
reckon they've changed it in the diary, Reed and the Donna party. But what actually happened was they were like, we need to entertain these kids. Let's put on an ox race. And they lined up the 32 ox and they started running, but they never came back because then they went, oh, we didn't tell them it was a circuit and the finish line was back at the start. So the ox just,
no.
They just kept going.
You know what ox are like.
They're still out
They're
there.
still running.
Still going
Oh,
all
they
these
did
years
like
later. It's actually incredible. 32. Oh, that's fucking bonkers.
Geez, that-
How did 32 of them all take off at
Also, I
once?
imagine probably apart from helping them move, they would have been a good backup plan for food, perhaps.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, definitely.
Oh, boy.
They finally made it across. They were forced to rest for several days, wasting more time in a fruitless search for the missing oxen. So they went out looking for them.
Oh, and they didn't have any
Didn't find
fruit.
them.
So that feels a
Yeah, why would they come back with no fruit?
fruitless search. Looking for oxen. I mean, there's a lot going on here.
Do they still have some ox left?
They've still got some left, but they've lost a lot.
They've got too much.
And the less oxen you have, the less wagons you're able to have because they're pulling the wagons.
Yeah.
So it's not a
So
good.
now they're like doubling, tripling up, and you got to share your space in your fancy wagon. No thanks.
No, thank you.
Feed off the Shades Lounge if you don't
Well,
mind.
Help yourself to the Bay Marie. Other thing a fancy person would have.
Yeah, they'd have a Bay Marie.
That sounds fancy, but it isn't, is it? That's where
Not
the
really.
dim sims and stuff are at the fish and chip
Yeah.
shop.
The service station. Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
ooh, bit la-di-da, Bay Marie. Oh, hello.
Ooh,
Hello,
Bay Marie in this
7-Eleven.
fish and chip shop, la-di-da.
Oh, this Chico roll's only been here for 3 days. Oh, pardon me, my lord.
Oh, dear.
So, in the meantime, they took stock only to discover that their food supply was not looking good for the 600 miles they still had left to go. It got even worse when some men rode ahead and discovered they had another 40 miles or 64 kilometres of desert ahead of them.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's
How
a
are they
lot.
measuring that?
Amazingly-
Every gallop, they go 1 gallop, 2 gallops, 3 gallops, 4 gallops. That's cool. I like how they can do that though. They would have some way of counting that way, I assume.
1 gallop, 2 gallop.
No, they were doing those things where you try and step about 1 metre.
Yeah. So the horse
That's
are
about one.
carefully just striding out one at a time.
Yeah. Or like measuring if furniture will fit. So you sort of hold your hands, you're okay, and now I'll move to where the furniture will go.
And your hands move every time.
Every time, but you go, yep, that'll fit.
Yeah, because you move it to the exact and go, oh, that's exact. Can't believe it.
Perfect. That's crazy.
You get the,
I nailed
you get
that.
the couch in there. It does not fit. It's overhanging the door by about 20 centimetres.
Can't close the door now.
I understand the Donna party's excuse for not using a tape measure, but what's yours?
I don't know, blind ignorance.
Confidence.
She likes
Yeah.
working with her hands.
I lost my tape.
That's the truth.
All right. Is that what you wanted me to say?
You got
wanted
me.
to admit,
Guilty
I
as
lost the tape
charged.
measure.
32 of my
I don't know
tape
where
measures
it
ran
is.
away.
And I haven't had the heart to replace them because I still believe they'll come back.
So amazingly, they continued on and made it through the desert and rejoined the traditional trail in late September. So that was supposed to be the shortcut, that bit that they just walked through. The shortcut had actually taken them a month longer than the normal trail would have, as they had to travel an extra 125 miles through uncleared mountain terrain and then desert. All the other migrants that had left at the same time but had elected not to take Hastings' shortcut were already in California by this point.
Had been for ages.
They're living it up.
Oh. They've all got the original roles, and, one of them got the role in Train coming towards camera.
Oh, no, the big break. But for the Donna Reed party, the journey was only just beginning.
Oh, that must be... I mean, they wouldn't know any of that, I suppose, but geez,
No.
Yeah.
they must have it in... They must deep down know we probably would already
Yeah.
be there if we just did what everyone else did.
Yeah.
Yep.
They know
Sure,
we've fucked
they
up.
do the maths on it and go, hang on, I circled this in the calendar for unpacking and I'm still in a desert.
There's a calendar inside the fancy.
That's right.
I'm meant to be
Wagon.
meeting the interior designer today at noon.
No.
Oh my god.
What will I tell the plumber?
We're hosting our first dinner party tonight in our new house.
It's not even built because we're not fucking there.
Our guests will be there with no host.
Yeah, they're going, hello, Mr. Reed? Mr. Reed, hello?
Hello.
On a vacant block.
It was an ambitious dinner plan, to be honest, but
Oh, it always is when
They have
moving.
more time.
Always moving. You're like, what? I'll move in about, unpack everything. That'll take, about 15, 25 minutes?
yeah.
6 days later,
And
you're
then,
still
yeah.
unpacking crockery.
Come round for dinner the next week. I'll be well and truly settled. Yeah,
Crockery, fine word. That just means
it.
all plates and bowls? Is that what...
what about your dinnerware, Dave?
Nah.
When are you going to unpack your dinnerware, you fucking idiot?
I'm wearing dinnerware. Wearing my dinnerware, unpacking crockery. It's the wrong order, but all right.
There's every now and then something a little eastern suburbs comes out in you two talking to each other. I feel like crockery is one of those.
I didn't say crockery.
Dave did, and you knew exactly what he meant.
I'm not entirely sure. What is crockery? Is that...
I think it's bowls and plates.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, that's crockery, right?
Anything
Yeah.
that you've got that's made of porcelain, which I assume is a lot.
My toilet is crockery. You're kidding? I've been calling that the shower.
And why are you unpacking it on moving day?
That should be there. That should already be there.
Mate,
It's not BYO toilet when you move
contact your
house.
landlord if there's no toilet when you get there.
Yeah, it's not good. The shitter should be there. Hi, there's no shitter here. That's how I say it.
I'll send someone post haste. Now, remember how initially they had left later than every other migrant by about a month?
Yeah.
Now, add on top of that the extra month of travelling, and they were now dangerously behind time.
Oh, no.
What they were really racing against, as we've already mentioned, was the snow. They were
Yeah.
desperate to not be trapped in the Sierra Mountains during the snow-filled winter, and they could already see snow falling on the peaks of the mountains.
That would have been nice.
Yeah, beautiful view,
Beautiful
but,
snow-capped
Beautiful.
mountains.
but also,
Gorgeous.
also terrifying.
Yeah.
With supplies already low and a huge journey still ahead of them, two of the young men travelling with the party William McCutcheon, and Charles Stanton were sent ahead to Sutter's Fort in California to bring back supplies. So they're off. But tensions were running high in the main group. Everyone blamed Hastings for his bullshit shortcut, and many held resentment to Reed, who'd championed them. As they journeyed on along the Humboldt River into Nevada, tempers began to flare, and they truly boiled over on October 5. There's a number of conflicting reports here, but the crux of it was on October 5th, at Iron Point, 2 wagons became entangled.
Oh.
One of the men, John Schneider, angrily...
Schneider.
Great name.
So good.
Angrily beat one of the oxes owned by Reed. Reed ordered the man to stop and attempted to intervene, and then Schneider began to whip Reed.
He's losing his mind by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
At this point, Reed's wife, Margaret, may have intervened and been hit herself. That's sort of where there's conflicting reports. But what is clear is that James Reed pulled out a knife and fatally stabbed John Schneider, the man with the whip.
Right.
So he just straight up killed him.
Yeah, that's a weird scenario. I mean, no one should whip another man's ox first.
Of course.
And then when
That's Dave's tramp stamp.
and then when they turn that whip onto you, it's going to be like, mate, come on. This is not very nice. Yeah. I would call this borderline impolite.
You are not being very nice right now, saying in between getting whipped. Ow, you are not being polite.
Little to the left. So John Schneider has been stabbed by Reed. At the time, US law wasn't applicable in this remote part of the country, so the party was left to administer their own punishment. Some in the group, particularly German immigrant Louis Kesselberg, advocated that Reed be hanged. The leader, George Donna, was actually a day ahead of the group at this point, so they took a vote and decided that Reed should be just banished from the group.
Right. So basically, that's basically sentencing him to death without committing the murder.
Yeah, it's a bit like, good luck. If you survive out there, good luck to you.
Yeah.
With his family to be looked after by the others. Remember, he's the wealthy one with the wealthiest carts and everything.
Right.
His family, he made sure they would be looked after by the others. James Reed was exiled from the group and forced to ride away and continue the journey on his own. I did read that his stepdaughter Virginia rode ahead and secretly provided him with a rifle and food.
Oh, shit.
But it's still pretty tough going out on your own out
Enough
there.
bullets to kill everyone in the party? Is that what this turns into? So it sounds like he copped it on the chin, basically. He's like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have murdered one of us.
Yeah, he accepted the punishment amazingly. With their supplies very low, many wagons damaged or abandoned, the animals tired, and the grass that they relied on becoming harder to find. From this point on, the groups began to splinter, and it very much became an every man or every family for themselves mentality.
I kind of forgot you also have to feed the animals.
Like a lot.
A lot. Yeah, because you've got a lot of animals and each of them require quite a lot of food.
Well, they've got 32 less than they used to have.
That's true. So, it's all relative, isn't it? Now they'd be like, oh, my God, this is a dream.
Louis Kesselberg, who advocated for James Reed's hanging, was a real prick.
Is that from Britannica again?
That's Britannica.
Britannica being bitchy.
A 70-year-old man named Hard Coop travelled with him, and when the animals began to tire, everyone was ordered to walk. So before this, you'd be in the wagon and the the horses, they'd do everything. They'd pull you along. But now there's so little of those and they're tired and weak, everyone has to walk. But Hard Coop, the 70-year-old man, couldn't keep up, and Kesselberg kicked him out and left him behind. The old man asked the others for help, but they all refused to waste supplies on him.
Oh, my God.
And they just left him there.
That's fucked.
That's fucked.
How awful is that?
That's so awful.
He was never seen again.
Oh, my God.
Meanwhile, old mate exiled Reed caught up with the Donnas who were up ahead and began to share a horse with one of their teamsters, Walter Heron.
They're like, oh, what are you up here for? Oh, no reason. Certainly haven't killed anyone in the party.
Where's the wife and kids?
Yeah, we're all still getting on well. I've just said I'll come up ahead and share some food and stuff with you guys if that's cool with you.
Can I hang with you for a bit? Or just had a fight with the family,
in
You
the
know what
bloody
they're
doghouse.
Reed and Walter Heron rode ahead, and they were able to cover an impressive 25 to 40 miles, or 40 to 65k per day. So they've gone out in front.
Yeah, without the old ball and chain
without
weighing
ball
you
and chain.
down,
Oh,
you
my
can
goodness.
you can cover a bit more distance, can't you?
The train of wagons continued on and began the ascent of the Sierra foothills, low on food, and to make things worse, Native American Paiute warriors killed or stole several of the remaining oxen and chased away some of their horses. Some estimates show that at this point the company had nearly lost 100 oxen and cattle.
Holy shit.
It's crazy that they're traveling with such huge numbers of animals as well as like it's just crazy. I can't picture
I reckon
it.
the original party would have been able to be seen from space. That big.
Yeah. I reckon you're right.
So they've lost so many oxen that many of them were forced to abandon their wagons and cache their possessions. That is, bury them in the hope of retrieving them at a later date.
That's never going to happen.
Another German man named Wolfinger stopped to cache his wagon.
Wolfinger?
Wolfinger.
Oh, he sounds like he should have been leading this party. Why wasn't he in charge? The Wolfinger party.
The Wolfinger party sounds sick.
I would follow Wolfinger to the end
They
of
would have
the
made
earth.
it. We wouldn't know about him because he would have just badassed his way the whole way across America.
Big time.
He would
love
have roundhouse
Wolfinger.
kicked any, if some sort of buffalo came up to him to eat one of the others, he would have just kicked it in the
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
Or like a
Easily.
coyote. What are the, because they don't have, what are the big, bears. I'm trying to think what the American beasts are.
Wombat.
What? The American wombat?
Wombats.
There's
The
been
bear.
no grizzly bears
Dave,
around,
can-
but I reckon, Wolfinger would have just roundhouse kicked it in the face.
Dave, can you just let us know in case we are championing someone who's a bit shit? Can you let us know if he's terrible?
We won't have to talk about him for much longer because he went to cache his wagon, bury his stuff.
Uh-oh.
Two other men, Reinhardt and Spitzer, stayed behind to help.
Uh-oh.
They returned to the group without Wolfinger,
Oh
reporting
my God.
they'd been attacked by Paiute Indians and he'd been killed. We'll never know if they were telling the truth. There's been lots of speculation over the years that they weren't and that they just killed and robbed him.
Oh,
So, yeah, what would be the benefit of that? Just to take his
that
stuff?
he's cacheing.
Yeah, take the stuff.
Surely they could just see where it is and go back and steal it later without killing him.
Or that just means then you've got to carry the stuff
Yeah, they come back and they've
that
just
he
got
can't carry.
10 loaves of bread on their back. No, I think they've probably also possibly stolen supplies. And
Honestly,
things like that. It's
Dave, I
hard.
reckon that bread would be pretty stale by now.
Matt, they're baking
Oh,
fresh
my
bread
goodness.
every day. The wagon's got an oven, mate.
Yeah, come on. They've got damper
They're using it.
by the
The
truckload.
bakery wagon. They got a wagon for everything.
Yes, I don't travel without the bakery wagon. I need my
Sorry,
croissant.
everybody. If you need me, I'll be in the sauna and cinema wagon.
The Eddy family had to abandon their wagon and were refused help from the others and had to walk and carry their children the rest of the
Geez,
way.
there's a real spirit of togetherness on this trip, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, really working
Isn't
as
it
a team
funny
here.
to travel together but being like, nah, fuck you. But still be so
Yeah,
close to
you're on
them.
your own.
Strange.
You're on your own. Now, come on, let's walk alongside each other for the next 8 hours.
In what is probably the most tragic part of the story, Margaret Reed had to abandon her luxury wagon.
Oh, Margaret,
It was only
no!
3 days from retirement.
Guys, can we please just have a moment's silence for that abandoned
For the
wagon?
wagon.
That's fucked.
Oh, poor wagon.
Poor Margaret.
Amazingly, they were able to continue on without the luxury wagon, mainly because they had no choice at this point. They made it to the gateway of Sierra Nevada on October 16th, almost completely out of supplies. But finally, a bit of good fortune occurred. Charles Stanton, who had ridden ahead to get supplies from California, arrived with 7 mules loaded with beef and flour, as well as 2 Native American guides, Salvador and Lewis, and news of a clear but difficult path to the Sierra Nevada ahead. The other guy that had gone for help with him, William McCutcheon, had fallen ill and he remained at Fort Sutter. So that's why 2 went to get supplies and only 1 came back.
Okay.
But that's good news. They've got a bit of food to keep them going and now a couple of guides and also the news that the trail ahead, it's not that bad.
Yeah. Okay, it sounds
turning
like it's
it
all going to
around.
end okay. Oh, Dave, you really said the back end was going to be grim, but this sounds like
Yeah, I'm
everything's
just
gonna be
opening a new bag of snacks ready to go.
yeah.
Well, eat them over the next 5 minutes or so and then never eat again.
But I've just baked this loaf of bread in my bakery wagon.
Bakery wagon. According to Ethan Rarick, love that name, author of Desperate Passage about this book, he says, quote, "To the bedraggled, half-starved members of the Donna party, it must have seemed that the worst of their problems had passed. They had already endured more than many emigrants ever did," end quote. But were they through these problems?
Oh, no. I'm starting to think no.
I'm still thinking it sounds really positive. The path ahead is going to be pretty easy, and they've got some food and
that's
some
great.
guides.
In this case, Jess, you're kind of like the Hastings. You haven't seen the story, you don't know the story, but you got a feeling.
Yeah.
Oh, it'll be fine. And I've written a
They've
book
just gone
about it.
along and read the stories, come back, and we're like, no, I think we'll still stick with the Donna party.
Good Lord.
I say.
Well, they camped 50 miles from the summit and rested for a few days, getting ready for what they hoped was the final part of their arduous journey. This decision to delay would be one of many they would soon regret. It was October 20 and the pass usually wouldn't be snowed in until the middle of November, so they assumed they had time. They'd have to be unlucky not to make it. One of the men, William Pike, was killed when a gun being loaded by William Foster was discharged negligently, so luck was not on their side. But each family took off one by one. The Donnas were last on the trail. They immediately hit rough terrain and an axle broke on their wagon. And whilst fashioning a replacement, George Donna, the leader of this whole thing, cut his hand. And here's a quote from Wikipedia. While chiselling the wood, so he cut his hand while chiselling the wood, but it seemed like a superficial
but a
wound,
flesh wound.
end quote. That seems ominous that they put that in
It
there,
does.
doesn't it?
I'm hearing gangrene are coming.
Uh-oh. Then the snow began to fall.
Must have looked beautiful.
Majestic, so nice.
I assume they've stopped in some sort of a chalet.
Yeah, they must be in a chalet. Surely the children would love to make little snow.
Snow angels, no man. Oh, they can sit by an open fire and wait till it passes. Maybe hit the
lovely.
slopes.
Cocoa, anyone? Dave, this sounds great. I don't know why you're always like, oh, this story's going to be terrible. This sounds like heaven.
Well, one of them did find a chalet. The Breen family, who were leading the charge, made it furthest up the mountain. They got 3 miles from the summit and made it to a cabin that had been built by previous settlers. Great.
Sick.
Oh, wow.
They tried to continue on through the pass, which was just 12 miles away, but found 5 to 10 feet or 1.5 to 3 metre snowdrifts that had fallen. And in the end, the families were forced to stop and camp at Truckee Lake, which is ominously now known as Donna Lake.
Okay.
That's obviously where after they got across to California, they would go back to Donna Lake for summer holidays.
Yeah, reunion. They used the existing cabin and added 2 more to shelter 59 people.
That's a bit cramped.
That's pretty cramped. And cabin probably sounds better than they were. The floors were made of dirt and the roofs leaked when it rained.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I do like how you've said the floors were made of dirt, not just there was dirt on the ground and they built around it. I like the idea that they've gone, we can make the floor out of anything. Let's make it out of dirt. And then they brought in dirt and just patted it down on top of other dirt.
They laid down wood floor and then they brought in dirt over the top of it.
Polished floorboards, carpet, then thick layer of dirt,
over the top. Very thick. So that you can't get any of that carpet feel.
Ugh.
You got to think about what surface lasts the longest. And nothing lasts. I mean, look around. How long's that dirt been there? Forever. Do you want a floor that lasts forever? Great. Get dirt.
Oh, that's a good ad.
You're not wrong.
Get dirt. So everyone was there in the 59 except the Donnas and their hired men who were 5 miles or 8 kilometres below because they'd fallen behind and then the snow had trapped them basically. Theirs was a group of 22 at this point, 12 of whom were children.
Okay. 12 out of how many?
They had 22.
Okay, still slight majority if they still have voting powers.
Everyone say aye. Aye.
We call for a ball pit. We want to bring the ball pit wagon. But can't we bring the food wagon? No, the food wagon stays. Ball pit wagon comes.
Food wagon's boring.
There's no food in there, just ingredients. Kids are dumb.
Sadly, the Donnas had less shelter from the elements, building makeshift shelters from tents and quilts. So they didn't actually have the cabins.
They built shelters from tents. I mean, the tent is already there. Just use the tent. They're like, I don't know what this tent is for, but we cut it up and we turned it into a sort of shelter.
I mean, you get into a tent, you can't see the dirt floor. Rip out the floor, you can see the dirt. Beautiful, makes
Bring
sense.
in more dirt.
Here we go.
They put dirt in on top as well of the tent. That's smart stuff.
So they all hoped that this initial snow early in the season would melt and they'd be able to make it through before the heavy stuff set in. The group made a few more attempts to continue on, but quickly realised that they were actually snowed in for winter. Exactly what they'd hoped to avoid this whole time.
That is normally what happens with winter, right? Snow comes in, then it melts, and then the snow comes in. That's what they were hoping for. I mean,
I think they were
maybe.
Because it had come like about 4 weeks
Right.
early and they're like, oh, maybe this is just a little bit at the
Yeah.
start. Hopefully it'll turn to summer again for 2 days. We'll make it through and then the snow will come back. Optimistic, I've got to say. They had very little food and as the oxes began to die, probably not supposed to live in the snow without anything to eat, they stacked the frozen bodies of the ox and ate them. They also ate mice, twigs and bark. It's a very well-rounded diet.
So you've got all 4 meat
Balanced.
groups, food groups looked after there. Ox, rats,
Twigs and bark.
They're the big 4.
They tried hunting but had little success. The cabins were cramped and filthy and it snowed so much that people were unable to go outdoors for days at a time. The conditions were simply
this
awful.
Sounds like a bit of a nightmare.
Throughout November, they made repeated attempts to walk to the summit. A large party of about 22 people successfully reached the peak on November 21, but the weather again made them retreat back to the camp. So they're so close, yet so far.
This really does feel like the American Birkin Wheels.
Surely if you get to the peak, you can just toboggan down the other side.
Exactly.
I
You
hope
know?
they pack their skis.
Do they have skis, Dave? Do they have the ski
They
wagon?
left that behind in favour of the ball pit.
No.
Very
I know
tragic.
snowboards
Oh,
weren't
they-
invented yet, but skis were, I assume, and toboggans.
But it was pretty funny when the kids let the ball pit go from the top of the mountain. They watched it go down. That was pretty fun, at least.
That'd be sick. Do they have a slinky wagon with them? Because that would be fun.
Woo!
Look at it go! How do they work?
You've done a full report on the man who invented the slinky, Jess, for our Patreon episode.
Was that me?
That was you.
You're kidding.
Yeah, I remember he went absolutely mad, joined a cult, and then his wife turned it into a successful multi-million-dollar business. Very interesting report.
How the fuck do you remember these things? And I thought
thought
Matt
I'd
had done
done it
that
too.
report, surely. Oh my God,
Oh,
I think Matt's
maybe you
done it. I
did.
think Matt
But
did
I
it.
also don't
Oh,
really
maybe you did.
And now that Dave said all that, I'm like, no, I don't remember that well. Probably was Jess.
Maybe I did the report. No, I definitely didn't, but I remember the facts of it, and it was fun. People can check that out. Lots of bonus episodes out there.
Incredible. That we don't remember, but hopefully you'll enjoy.
Luckily, we saved them for posterity.
It's like a museum out there. Meanwhile, James Reed, who had been banished for murdering a man and had rode ahead, he'd made it to Fort Sutter and he met up with the now recovered William McCutcheon, the other guy who'd gone ahead and gotten sick. And together they realised that they hadn't made it, so they wanted to mount a rescue. They went themselves at first but found the conditions on the other side of the mountain just as hard to get through. They made it about 12 miles or about 20k from the top, blocked by snow. Possibly on the same day, the Breens on the other side attempted to lead one last effort to get over the pass. So they're probably only, a few miles apart. Brutal.
Wow.
Reed and McCutcheon realised that they would need help if they were to get through to their friends and families. They tried to rouse some help, but back at the fort, the Mexican War had taken most of the able-bodied men, and they realised they'd have to wait, which they actually weren't too concerned about because they were unaware how many cattle the immigrants had lost, and they believed the party would have heaps of meat to last them through the several months of winter. They were like, oh, they've got heaps of food. They'll be right. They didn't know that they had no food, except for twigs and bark.
Twigs and bark.
2 of the food groups.
Yeah, Reed's like, oh, how much twigs and bark is left out there? There must be heaps out there. On December the 15th, Bayless Williams, a driver for the Reeds, died of malnutrition, and the group realised that they'd need to do something if anyone was going to avoid the same fate. Franklin Graves, another man, fashioned 14 pairs of snowshoes out of oxbows and hide. And the next day, 5 men, 9 women, and 1 child departed on snowshoes for the summit with the ultimate goal of travelling 100 miles to Sutter's Fort.
Oh, that's a big trip. And what an ominous name. Who made your stuff to survive this really tough thing? A guy called Graves? Oh, no.
The shoes were effective but quite awkward. They packed light but barely had any supplies and weren't well equipped for camping in the snow at night. By day 6, their food had run out completely, and for the next 3 days, no one ate at all. They travelled on through the gruelling high winds and freezing weather. They also quickly found themselves snowblind.
If I don't eat for 3 hours, God, I'm a nightmare to be around. 3 days, I'd be saying, just kill me. It's better for all of us.
Does snowblind mean they can't see snow? Because that would have made things difficult.
I don't see snow.
You stop being able to recognise what it is? What is this stuff? What is this?
I've been, Jess, you're doing the 3-hour thing. I've been doing, I don't know what it's called, but I don't eat until midday each morning. And some days I don't even notice, but other days it's like you're just looking at the clock and 3 minutes has gone by. 6 and
Yeah. And you're like, surely I can eat now. You're doing intermittent fasting.
I mean, surely that's all fasting, right? You're doing it sometimes.
I mean, yeah, you sleep
Yeah,
overnight,
so everyone
you're fasting.
sort of intermittently fasts.
No,
We're all doing it.
I'm sleep eating.
That a boy.
I've got a plate of haggis on my bedside table.
Of all things, it couldn't have been a tub of ice cream or something. A plate of haggis. Yuck.
Hey, I know what I like when I sleep.
Hey, it's meant to be quite nice.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it when we were over there last year.
I've had veggie haggis, which is pretty good. Probably not all that similar to the real thing, but
How could, when like 95% of it is meat, how could it taste anything like it?
I don't know. I took their word for it. They said it's a pretty good likeness.
To be honest, maybe it
Who
is.
bloody knows?
I apologise. I'm sure you enjoyed it.
Yeah, but I'll never know. Well, you can tell me.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. I can eat both.
Next time we're over there, if we're ever allowed to leave Australia again,
Oh, imagine.
I reckon it'll happen. I reckon like in the next few weeks that we'll probably be able to go over to the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easily. We'll just pop over.
For a long weekend.
Okay, so they're snowblind now.
Yes, and then one of the group, Charles Stanton, was exhausted and told the others to go on without him and that he'd catch up with them later.
He's not going to catch up.
He
with
was never seen alive again.
him. No.
They got caught in a blizzard and with no food whatsoever began to talk of the unthinkable, cannibalism, which is honestly, if you know the 2-sentence summary of the story, that is definitely part of it, cannibalism.
Yeah.
Patrick Dolan proposed one of them should volunteer to die in order to feed the others.
Oh.
You'd be like, all right, are you volunteering, mate?
Yeah.
You know that thing you do where you're trying to get your friend to volunteer to do something and you like make them put their hand up? Imagine doing it. Oh, yeah, over here.
Dave will do it. Dave will do it.
No,
Dave's like, shut up. Miss, he's putting my hand up for me. I don't want to.
No, I don't want to do it. I don't want to be part of this magic trick.
Is that what you think of cannibalism as?
Yeah.
Let's cut this body in half. Then eat it.
Oh, you put me back together, right?
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah.
Some suggested a duel
Are you fucking kidding
and that the
me?
loser would be eaten, while another account described an attempt to create a lottery to choose a member to sacrifice. But they never had to follow through with any of that because people just began to die naturally. Problem solved!
Thank God.
Antonio, the animal handler, was the first to die, and he was soon joined by Patrick Dolan, the man who just said we should kill someone,
Good.
Franklin Graves, the shoemaker, sorry, Matt, and Lemuel Murphy.
Lemuel. That's not a name you hear anymore, but I reckon it's going to come back in fashion.
Let's bring it back. Beautiful stuff.
Little baby Lemuel,
Lemmy.
born 7 pounds, 50 centimetres long. Mum and bub doing well. Lemuel?
Lemuel Perkins, you reckon?
No, absolutely
Lemmy.
not.
I like
It's a good
Lemmy.
middle name.
I'm not a psychopath. Oh, Lemmy's cute. Okay, I'm back around. Lemuel Perkins.
So these 4 men died, and the rest of the group ate parts of their bodies and dried and stored the meat for the coming days. Another quote from Wiki, quote, taking care to ensure nobody would have to eat his or her relatives. That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah. I think they sort of did it. It was fairly similar in the plane crash in the Andes. I think they, but I didn't read too much about the cannibalism then because it made me queasy.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into too much detail. There is a bit out there if you want to read through the sources I've linked, but it's just a bit yuck. So they continued on living off the bodies, but the two Native American guides, Salvador and Lewis, who were with them, refused to eat human flesh. Some of the group began to discuss killing and eating the guides.
The ones who said, no, we don't want to eat human, thank you. Then they went, well, let's eat them. Really?
Yes. They were warned, so they ran away. They ran away
How
from
does
the
that
group.
help anyone? They're not taking their food source, so why not just have them around? Or they were warned, someone went, just by the way, the others are talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
right.
going.
They're talking about killing you and
Right.
eating you.
And when you said they're
That's
guides, so they
ridiculous.
knew their way around. Have you been mentioning the guides during this story?
Oh, they got brought back with the guy that brought back 7 mules laden
Right.
with food.
That was that was when we are having some bit of good
That
news.
was the one bit of good news was that they had food, they had guides, and they were told that part of the head was clear because at that time there was no snow. Now there's snow
and
everywhere.
why would you want to keep the guides happy? No, because I mean the point of surviving through this, sure, but then getting out of here alive, we don't want to get greedy.
Well, remember that at this time they had that manifest destiny at the back of their minds, and they're thinking us
Yeah.
Europeans.
And that's, do you reckon they still believe that as everyone's dropping dead around them? This is what God wanted. This is all for us. This is our destiny. Now it starts to feel like God's saying, hey, you fucking idiots, this isn't yours.
Yeah.
Go away.
Stop
Get
that!
out.
Stop that! Get out of
Drop
it!
Get out of it. Oi.
Oi.
Oi. Ah.
So God's
So-
treating them like a little yappy dog.
Yeah.
Oi.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey,
Oi.
hey!
Stop it.
Stop it!
Gentle.
Yeah, take it nicely. That's what we say to Humphrey when we're giving him like a little dental treat. Take it nicely. Take it nicely.
Take it nicely.
And because
That's funny.
I don't know how we've taught him, but he knows. All right, I've got to take it out of your hand. I can't snatch, or you won't give it to me.
Oh,
It's very cute.
boy. A lot of people say gentle. You've gone take it nicely.
That's right. We use. Please sit on my lap.
Use your words, Humphrey. Use your
Your
words.
dog. Your dog is
Rory.
a fancy dog.
Oh yes, of course.
Rory Dave.
He's a posh dog.
I didn't want to say this next bit, but I got to tell you the bad news. The guides ran away, but they were later discovered starving because they hadn't eaten anything. And William Foster, one of the other men, shot the pair, and the group ate their bodies.
Ah.
He's the one that killed someone before when his gun went off accidentally. So his body count is
His
high.
gun's
What a
going
prick.
off accidentally quite a bit by the sounds of it.
But what Matt was saying before is like, why would you kill the guides who are the ones who can help you if you do get through the bad weather?
I think he wrote them off as a lost cause because they were refusing to eat the human flesh. There's nothing else. These guys are going to starve and die anyway.
Yeah.
Some could argue we put them out of their misery, but I still think that it's a murder. And History.com writes of the murders, quote, it was the only time during the entire winter that people were murdered for use as food.
Okay, thanks for that, history.com.
I love that implies that every other year around this period that people are. What a brutal time to be alive.
Yeah.
So of the group that had set out, on January 19, 1847, 7 made it to the safety of a town on the other side of the mountain. It had taken them 33 days. William Eddy and William Foster were the only men that survived, but all 5 women that had gone on the trek had lived.
Girl power.
Girl power. So they made it. A lot
Wow.
of them died and starved and were killed along the way, but they actually made it out.
Sorry, you did say, but how many had set off?
I believe 12-ish.
Yeah, okay. And 7 made it.
15 when including a child who actually had to go back because it was such a perilous journey.
Because it was a child.
So of 14, 7 made it.
50-50.
Okay.
50%.
Not bad. I mean, that's a
P's get
pass,
degrees.
isn't it? Yeah.
The good news is that they survived, and the survivors quickly alerted people to the fact that there were still many people trapped on the other side of the mountain, and residents rallied to form rescue parties.
Wow.
And now you're like, yay, now they'll all be saved. Sadly, it wasn't that easy. The weather was still terrible. It's still the middle of winter. The rescuers weren't able to take pack animals out, so only small amounts of supplies could be carried.
But could they not just get a helicopter?
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Sadly,
Yeah,
the budget wasn't there.
Get a few choppers up there. Are you kidding me?
They're
Oh,
already
pathetic.
being used they were already being used by news teams reporting on them. We can see them down there below. Yeah, they're trapped here for sure. But efforts are being made to come and get them. We'll keep you updated. Stay tuned for the 7 p.m. bulletin.
What we can see around them are numerous flat places where hypothetically a helicopter could land. So hopefully they use that space for some sort of, I don't know, sporting event to keep themselves warm.
They've
Anyway,
obviously cleared an oval for a game of soccer. Wish them well.
we'd hate to disturb. So instead they're just lowering a microphone
We're
to interview.
lowering a ladder down with a microphone attached to the end, just out of reach. Speaking of this, how you doing down there? You going all right?
So the first relief party left on February 5, and the second, led by outcast James Reed, left just 2 days later. So his family is still trapped on the other side, so he's pretty desperate to rescue them.
Yeah.
So quote again from Legends of America. Quote, on February 19th, the first party reached the lake, finding what appeared to be a deserted camp until the ghostly figure of a woman appeared. 12 of the emigrants were dead, and of the 48 remaining, many had gone crazy or were barely clinging to life. End quote. So it wasn't a very nice scene.
Was that an actual ghost?
Yes.
Whoa. That's cool.
Whoa.
And that's why they didn't send helicopters out, because all the pilots were spooked.
Wow, there hasn't been a
beautiful.
woman seen around these parts for 15 years.
So the rescue party made it, but they couldn't take everyone in one go, and not everyone was able to travel at all, because a lot of people had been starving for months now. So
Yeah.
even a journey with assistance was difficult. The rescuers took 23 back with them and left supplies with the others in the hopes that they could cling on long enough for more rescuers to get to them. Sadly, more of the survivors died on the trek to safety. On the way back down the mountain, the first party ran into the second party led by James Reed, and Reed was finally reunited with his family. And they'd all made it.
Oh, no
His whole family survived.
Wow.
No.
Amazing.
But he had so
And
many
he was
kids.
the one who was responsible for all this death.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Shit.
I suppose maybe he was feeling a bit of guilt because he was reunited with his family. They went back to safety, and then he kept going to try and rescue the others. So he wasn't like, I got my family out, I'm done.
Yeah. Sucked
Oh,
in.
that's good. A slight redemption story there.
The second relief party, led by Reed, arrived on March 1st and found evidence of further cannibalism. It was the same story when they made it a few miles down the mountain to the Donna camp. Remember that they'd been separated this whole time? They'd also had to eat people after they'd died. Reed led a group of 17 survivors out of the camp, but they got caught in another blizzard and had to set up another camp, referred to as the Starved Camp.
Okay, that doesn't sound good.
So now there were
Jeez.
pockets of
Rub it in.
survivors at 3 different locations. You got Starved Camp, the Lake Camp, where the majority of people had, and the Donna Camp further down.
Okay.
More cannibalism later. The Starved Camp was visited by the third relief party, led by William Eddy and William Foster, who were the only 2 surviving men from the snowshoe party earlier. Remember, he's one of the guys that shot the Native American guides and ate them.
Yeah.
But they came back. So I guess, they are caring about each other in some ways, you could argue. The third party made it to the Donna camp and found that George Donna, the once leader of the group, was dying from an infection in his hand, having cut it months earlier whilst fixing his wagon.
Oh, yeah.
Remember Wiki wrote it seemed like a superficial wound? Well, it wasn't. George's wife Tamsin refused to leave him and handed their children to rescuers. George and Tamsin didn't make it out. So he was dying. She said, I can't leave him, and was later found dead with him. Well, actually, she wasn't found dead with him because the last to be rescued was Louis Kesselberg, the man who I mentioned had advocated that Reed be hanged all those months earlier. He was found in April 1847, supposedly half mad and surrounded by the cannibalised bodies of his former companions. According to History.com, Kesselberg was later accused of having murdered the other emigrants for use as food, but these charges were never proven. Tams and Donna had apparently joined Kesselberg in his cabin after George had died from his wound, And quoting here, Kesselberg said he put a blanket around her and told her that they'd start out in the morning, but she died during the night. The salvage party was suspicious of Kesselberg's story and found a pot full of human flesh in the cabin, along with George Donna's pistols, jewellery, and about $250 in gold. So a lot of people are like, I don't trust this guy.
Yeah.
Either way, he arrived at Sutter's Fort on April 29th, 1847, and he spent the rest of his life being treated as a villain for the story. People looked at him as a murderer.
Right. And what about Reed? How did he spend the rest of his life?
Well, I'll tell you about what happened to the rest of the group, but all up it took 2 months and 4 relief parties to rescue the survivors. And all up it was 1 year and 2 weeks since the Donnas and Reeds had set out on their journey and the last surviving member made it to California. So over a year.
For this trip that was supposed to be about 5 months.
5 months. If they'd taken the normal journey like everyone else, it would have taken 5 months.
Oh, my God.
Of the approximate 87 people who entered the Wasatch Mountains, 48 had survived. 2/3 of the men in the party perished, whilst 2/3 of the women and children lived. Amazingly, as I said before, the Reed family and also the Breen families remained intact, but the rest all lost members. I read this on Wikipedia and nowhere else, but this story needs a bit of light, so I'm going to say it's true, hopefully. The Reeds settled in San Jose, and 2 of the Donna children, who were orphaned, lived with them. Reed fared well in the California gold rush and became quite prosperous. So he did well, Matt, despite obviously being a big part of their
So much blood on his
failure.
hands. Just for being pig-headed.
So much.
Oh,
The city of Marysville in California is named after survivor Mary Murphy, and several streets in San Jose are named after members of the Reed family.
Yeah, right.
One of the other survivors, Mary Graves, wrote in a letter to her relative in 1847 after having just made it back. She said, quote, I will now give you some good and friendly advice. Stay at home. You are in a good place where, if sick, you are not in danger of starving to death. End quote. And
I
that's
think that
just
is
good
good
advice.
advice, yeah.
that is great advice. Stay at home because I won't starve to death here because there's food.
Well, she had a bit of an obsession with starving. There's another line from Wiki, which it just stood out to me because it's so bizarre. It says, quote, Mary Graves married early, but her first husband was murdered. She cooked his killer's food whilst he was in prison to ensure the condemned man did not starve before his hanging.
Right, she wanted him to survive to be...
Survived to get his
Interesting.
punishment. Yeah.
Oh, it is
Seems like you're just prolonging the inevitable, aren't you?
She cooked his food, like, doesn't trust the chef, the jail chef.
Just poison the food.
No, it's got to die in a specific way.
That's right. According to the law.
Yeah.
As for Lansford Hastings, who encouraged the fake shortcut, wrote the book, these days you'd expect him to face multiple manslaughter charges, right? Mm-hmm. He was never punished and went on to be a major in the US Civil War, fighting for the losing South. After the war, a bunch of these losing racists attempts to establish colonies in Brazil. Hastings was one of these people and died of yellow fever whilst taking a shipload of settlers to his settlement. So he was still leading people on fantastical
right.
journeys.
God.
But never faced punishment or ridicule or any backlash as far as I read.
Far out. At least suing him for his book, you know? Or his long letter.
He would have weaseled his way out of it somehow, I reckon. Claimed bankruptcy,
Yeah.
started a Phoenix
Yeah.
book publishing company. Yeah, classic Hastings. What a tale.
The story of the Donna Party rapidly spread across the United States and quickly became a very famous story where it remains to this day in American folklore. It may have put off some people making the journey to California over the next couple of years. Some places I read that it was slightly less people making the trip. But like I said at the start of the report, as soon as gold was found, all bets were off and California boomed.
And people just travelled on the road there.
Yeah, they didn't take the shortcut ever again. The harrowing conditions and cannibalism has made the journey a source of fascination ever since, and the Donna Party has been the basis of fiction, drama, poetry, and film. The state of California created the Donna Memorial State Park in 1927, and today it has 200,000 visitors a year. So let's add that to the list of places we have to one day visit.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, wow.
But all in all, that is the harrowing tale, the often requested tale of the Donna Party.
Polite
applause.
applause.
Crazy stuff. Crazy
wow.
stuff.
Yeah, insane. So much. Yeah, like I said, I knew the cannibalism bit, and I knew they were on a very long trek, but I didn't know a lot of that, and that is an insane
Amazing.
story.
Yeah.
Crazy
Wow.
stuff.
It's just so many bad decisions end up in so much death.
Yeah.
But then,
Yeah.
the people who survived, to have got through all of that and held on, it was a pretty amazing effort as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Whew.
So, thanks to everyone that suggested that topic over the years. We finally got to it for Blocktober. I reckon that was a pretty block appropriate story.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge.
Like Matt said with the OJ story last week, there were other things I could have gone into because there's, a whole year of a journey to go into, but I hope that I covered most of it.
Yeah. And you didn't go too heavy on the cannibalism, which I
certainly
appreciate.
is more stuff out there online if you want to search it out. I did a bit of reading and went, I don't think we need to talk about that, but in detail.
I don't like
Obviously, I was going to
this.
mention it because it's so famous. Everyone would be like, I can't believe you didn't mention the most famous part.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
imagine if I was like, and they left on April and they made it a few months later and had a good time in California.
So, thanks for listening. Like and subscribe.
Wow, great
Yeah,
story
yeah.
there, Dave. It had a bit of everything, apart from all that much feel-good stuff, but it did have a bit of everything in terms of grim facts.
Yeah, was that grim
Yeah, that
enough
was
for
very
you?
grim. Well done.
Thank you.
I'm giving you a gold grim star for that report, and that's the highest grim star you can get. So that brings us up to the point of the show where we like to thank a few patron supporters in different ways. I just quickly looked up. I find this so fascinating. I was talking about briefly before about American sporting teams that move around a bit. There's only been one from where were we talking about? Sacramento. The Kings is the only big pro team. But they
right.
relocated from Kansas City in 1985. And before that, they were known as the Rochester Royals, the Cincinnati Royals, the Kansas City Omaha Kings, the Kansas City Kings. So they moved cities 1, 2, 3, 4 times.
That's
Isn't
amazing.
that funny?
Wow.
That happens all the time. It's like the Lakers. You're like, there's no lakes in Los Angeles. But that was because the Lakers were initially from Minnesota or something like that. Yeah, Minnesota. But they kept the name. So strange. It's a weird
go.
sporting world over there. It's just because they're usually privately owned. So the owner can just be like, I want to move them over here because I've got a better deal on a stadium or something.
And they go, okay.
And then, I think the league has to tick it off, but it sounds like it often can happen. Anyhow, I knew there would be someone going, tell me more about Sacramento sport.
And we had to disappoint.
I was certainly feeling it. So thank you for scratching that itch.
There's some lower league baseball teams and stuff as well, but I don't need to go into those. What we want to talk about now is some fact quotes and some questions, which has a segment which has a little jingle, I believe.
Fact, quote, or question.
He always remembers the ding. And how to get involved in this is if you go onto our Patreon at patreon.com/dogoonpod and you support us on the, I want to say, Sydney Schoenberg Deluxe Memorial Rest in Peace edition level.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. This is
Correct.
This is a big tier, baby. You get a lot of stuff for this. You get the bonus episodes, which you also get at a lower tier. So if you want to support us on that, that'd also be great. You get the shout outs. You get access to the Facebook group. When we do tours, hopefully that'll be coming up again soon, one day, you get access to pre-sale tickets. And basically, you just get to know in the comfort of your heart. Comfort of your heart? Yeah, comfort of your heart.
I hope your heart is comfortable.
That you're supporting the show and we truly appreciate it.
Big time. So first up, we've got Tessa Chilcott, who's given herself the title. You have to give yourself a title on this level as well. She's given herself the title of current queen and usurper of dragons.
Damn, that's tough.
That is a sweet title. And Tessa's got a question for us. All the rest are facts today, but this is our only question. Tessa's question is, I feel like we've had this one before. How fun. How much wood does a woodchuck chuck? if a woodchuck could chuck wood. Really, I want to know desperately. It's important. I'm looking at hiring someone. Is it a certain amount per hour, per day? How do they make a living? Also, thanks for the laughs. Thank you, Tessa. Great question.
I mean, we are not woodchucks. So as for how they make a living and stuff like that, I don't feel qualified to answer. But to answer the main part of the question, which is how much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood, the answer is 42.
Oh, thank goodness. I forgot because we did obviously look it up last time. And we've got to be consistent. I'm sure it was the exact answer we gave last time.
Probably. It's a go-to number. So, yeah,
Dave
probably.
and Jess, if I could take the mic for a second, according to Merriam-Webster, the definition of a woodchuck is a grizzled, thick-set marmot, chiefly of Alaska, Canada, and the northeastern US, also called groundhog. I love it even more now that I know it's a grizzled, thick-set marmot.
You love
thick animals.
And if they're grizzled, even better.
So good. Well, what fantastic news that is. It's a rodent.
And a great question.
They're cool-looking animals. They're another animal that is sort of just one bit, no real neck. It's just head into body. Love it. Love a thick animal. So thanks for bringing them to our attention. We might have mentioned this last time. They're also known as a chuck, a woodshock, a ground pig, a whistle pig, a whistler, a thickwood badger, Canada marmot, a monax, a moonack, a weenusk, a red monk, and a
You're making them up now.
A syphiloo. Isn't that amazing? They got so many names.
Was one of them a wiener?
A weenusk.
A wiener?
Weenusk.
I think maybe my favourite is between thickwood badger and whistle pig.
Yeah, I like whistle pig.
Oh, great. That's so good. Thanks, Tessa, for taking us back to the woodchuck. Fast climbing my list of favourite animals. It's one I often forget about, but thank you so much for bringing it back to the front of my mind. And thank you so much for your support. The next one comes from Paul Meller, who's one of our great supporters, as all these people are. And Paul has given himself the title Official Do-Go-On Keeper of the Faith for Underdog Sports Teams.
Oh.
It is a very important role. And here is Paul's fact. I think Paul he definitely keeps his eye on the Saints. He'll message me when we're about to win or something. And I appreciate that. I think he's doing it from over in England, perhaps.
I feel like no dogs are more under than the Saints.
At the time of recording, they're about to play their first final in 9 years. By the time this comes out, you'll either know if I'm happy or sad about it.
If they lose, is it they get a second chance?
Well, I'll tell you what this game is called, and you can see if you can figure it out from that. It's called an elimination final.
Okay, so if they lose, they'll be back next week?
Yeah, unfortunately, no. It's do or die. So the season could be over by the time this episode comes out. We are the underdogs in this game. To your team, Dave, the Dogs.
I know.
Starting favourites.
You're underdogs, we're just dogs.
You're a dog, you dog. Sorry, Paul Meller's fact is a fact about my all-time favourite passenger aircraft, Concorde. Oh, Concorde will make a great bonus episode someday, I reckon.
Concorde.
He says, which I'll sadly never travel on. Did you know that during supersonic flight, the fuselage stretched between 6 and 10 inches due to heat generated by air friction? Whoa. Bob, can I get a ruling on that?
Fun.
And plane stretches. That's wild by that much.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It seems like quite a big, geez. Talk about a bit of friction and you stretch an extra 6 to 10 inches. Am I right?
Can you? I think that if you save up, I think it's probably for the ultra wealthy only. So, but I think you can every now and then they possibly. I don't know if they actually have ever raised the funds, but people try and raise $1 million so that they can bring it back for one flight only or something like that.
What a good use of money.
It's probably millions, yeah. Because people are, if plane enthusiasts are desperate to have a crack.
Yeah, right, of course. Paul goes on, says, so this stretching of the fuselage, this caused external temperatures of up to 127 degrees Celsius at cruising speed of Mach 2.04 or 1,350 miles per hour. Concorde was painted in a special white paint to accommodate this stretching and dissipate the heat. The Concorde in the Museum of at the Manchester Airport has the last captain's cap stuck tight in between the control panels as he put it there on the last flight before the aircraft shrank back to its normal length. Oh, that's fun.
Oh, and it got stuck.
Yeah, so basically when it went fast, the gaps appeared. He chucks his hat in and it shrunk back down, so his hat's stuck in there. That's fun.
That's fun.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That is fun.
That's a great fact.
Cool.
Well done, Paul.
That's a great fact, Paul.
I am thinking now that there's probably no need to do a mini episode. I have a funny feeling that's the most interesting thing about it. But still.
Yep.
No, they had a pretty cool, checkered history.
Yeah. All right. Dave, I request you do a bonus episode about that one day.
All right, I'll do it.
Stick that in your hat and smoke it. The next one, thank you, Paul. The next one comes from Bettel Utlu. Bettel Utlu. It's Bettel.
Thanks, Bettel.
Bettel sounds like pedal. So I think I'm getting that right. The problem with when people say my name's like this because it sounds like this other word, but unfortunately I mispronounce a lot of different words. So if I don't say pedal like you, I'm possibly still saying it wrong. But anyway, Bettel Utlu has a fact. Oh, sorry, but Bettel's title is Egg Hater.
Yes.
I think
Yes, on board.
that is one of
Bettel.
one of the shortest titles we've ever had, I reckon.
And I am with you.
Egg Hater. Bettel has given a fact. It is BTS are the first group since the Beatles to have 3 Billboard #1 albums within a year. BTS. Who's BTS?
For the K-pop South
K-pop.
Korean band.
Cool. Wow. 3 Billboard #1 albums within a year.
In a year, yeah,
That is
wow.
hectic. So BTS. That's interesting. So they're obviously a huge band.
Yes.
So much so that you two have heard of them. Would I know any of their
Yes.
songs?
I don't,
Okay.
but
No, they recently
I
had
don't
one
know.
that's come out in English that I listened to.
The group's name, BTS, stands for the Korean expression Bangtan Sonyeondan, literally meaning Bulletproof Boy Scouts. Oh, that's fun.
that's cool.
But is it true that that's a backronym where they come up with the name
right.
and then apply something later? Maybe.
That's possibly is.
Still, it's a great
A
backronym.
great backronym.
A backronym. I love that.
That's a great fact. Thank you so much, Bettel, for that one. Sweet fact. And finally this week, the last fact quota question comes from Jacob Lane, whose title is Simpsons Guy or Whatever I Said Last Time. And Jacob...
I reckon he's got a bit of work to do this week. We did quite a few Simpsons
people
references.
get stuck in a bit. So if you don't know, Jacob is on the Patreon Facebook group and he does what do you call it? He sort of goes through and...
He catalogues.
Catalogues and audits the Simpsons
that's
references.
right.
Audits.
He used to be
yes.
called the Simpsons Reference Auditor, but now he's just called himself the Simpsons Guy or whatever.
It's snappier.
It is much snappier. And much like his fact, a very snappy little fact here from Jacob, it is Batman is my favourite superhero, I think. Great fact. Thank you, Jacob.
It's a great
That's
fact.
great. Mine's the Phantom.
Yeah, we know you like the stupid Phantom.
What's your favourite superhero? Mine's a scientist.
Batman is a scientist.
Fantastic. Yeah, Batman is a great superhero. I'm up there with that.
Is Batman a scientist?
Well, that's another Simpsons reference.
Oh.
So now we get to thank a few other...
I was like, I don't think
Monorail
he's a scientist.
We get to thank a few of our other Patreons who've been on the shout-out level for a while. If you're on the shout-out level or above, I always forget which one it's called, but you'll see it if you go to the patreon.com/dogoonpod, which one's which. And just when we comes up with a little game to play, we'll give everyone a title or something.
Yeah, I think this time we should assign them a particular wagon that they're looking after, whether it's the ball pit
Yeah,
wagon or
good
the,
one.
yeah.
That is so good. All right, well, if you don't mind, I might kick this off.
Please.
Firstly, from Surrey Hills, a suburb here in Melbourne, Victoria, Sam Cross.
Sam Cross.
Right, Sam Cross is in charge of the dinnerware wagon.
Okay.
Yes.
So cutlery, knives, forks, etc.
And clothes.
And, yeah, suits and ball gowns.
Hang on, what?
I'm confused now. Which one's the right one?
Cutlery.
Cutlery, right. Yeah, because Dave got it wrong when we did a live show in Sydney a few years ago.
Dinnerware, plates and
Right,
bowls
yes,
and
yes,
shit.
yes.
I'm going to be honest with you there. I got it wrong again there. I thought I was doing the joke one when I accidentally said the right one. I was like, yeah, it's suits and stuff, so I'll say the cutlery. Oh, fuck. Sorry about that, everyone.
Classic.
All right, Sam Cross. So, start getting that crockery ready. And crockery's involved there too, right? Crockery and cutlery.
Yeah.
Oh, you've brought it all
Yeah.
together beautifully. Sam Cross, that's a very important role. But, that would be nothing without food. So hopefully if someone else is in charge of some sort of a food wagon. I'd also love to thank from Rosebud, beautiful beachside city down on the peninsula in Victoria, Aisling Marone.
Ooh. Marone, I reckon. Aisling is in charge of the bonfire wagon.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So
Lots of accelerants.
You can hop in. You can go into the bonfire wagon if it's a bit chilly and sit around the fire and toast some marshmallows and just chill out, but warm up. You can chill out while you warm up. That's
I
the
like
slogan.
That. Yes.
That's a
they
great
all
way.
They all need a slogan on the side, yeah.
Great idea. All right. Well, thank you so much to you for your support. Let me just get back to the page. See what we've got next. So thank you, Sam. Thank you, Aisling. And I'd love to thank this. I was on a different page because I was trying to figure out how this city is pronounced, but I could not find it. I'm going to say Pflugerville in Texas.
Whoa.
I'd love to thank Eric Moody.
Oh, Eric Moody. With a name like Moody, I kind of feel like maybe he's in charge of the therapy wagon.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love it. So there's like
We are, of course, traveling with trained and qualified psychologists, psychiatrists. So yeah, we've got everything covered there. If you need to have a chat,
Do they have that little chair you can lie down on and look up?
of course.
I love
yeah.
that. You could also have a nap in there if you like.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, they're not going to be using it all the time, so yeah.
That's great. That's great work there for you, Eric Moody. Appreciate your support, of course. So thank you, Sam Cross, Aisling Marone, and Eric Moody. One of you two like to thank a few?
I'll have a crack here if you don't mind. I'd like to thank from St Helens in the UK, OPP Oliver Petter Platt.
Yeah, you know me.
Oh, OPP.
He's on the Facebook group, obviously. And I said, I linked to the song. I said, I'm guessing you get this a lot. And he said, more than you'll ever know.
Well, let's steer away from that and say that he's in charge of the Austin Powers memorabilia wagon.
Oh,
behave.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Who knows when you're on your 2,500 mile journey when you might need a fat bastard costume.
Yeah. You'd hate to leave the house without it, Maybe one of those things where you're halfway through your journey and you're like, fuck, I need my fat bastard costume and I've left it at home.
Phone, keys, wallet, fat bastard costume.
Oh, yeah. I hate that feeling of I've forgotten something,
That's great.
Oof.
OPP, hopefully you enjoy looking after that for us.
I would also like to thank now from an unknown location.
Ooh,
I can only
mystery.
imagine Donna Lake. And that is Katie Dolan.
Katie Dolan. Oh, Katie, of course, is in charge of the fine dining wagon.
Oh, beautiful.
Obviously, she needs help from Sam Cross to put out the crockery and the cutlery, but she provides the finest ingredients and the finest foods.
Oh, what are we having tonight?
Beef stroganoff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Okay, and Matt, what are you and I having tonight?
Just stroganoff.
Just the stroganoff.
Vegetarians. Okay, all right.
Bean stroganoff.
Ooh.
Oh, now you're talking.
I love how Oliver Clark used to always just work beef stroganoff into his routines.
Yeah.
He had a whole song. So funny. Beef, 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 beef. Strog.
That's right.
That's
If you don't know Oliver Clark, fantastic musical comedian. Look him up on YouTube.
yourself
Some
a
great
favour.
stuff. I would also like to finally thank from, my goodness, where's this from? Denmark?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
And the city is Aarhus, maybe. I would like to thank, and I've nailed none of that, and I'm also not going to nail Casper and Kajia.
Yeah, definitely wrong. But I don't know how else you could possibly
I know. Like,
say it. I'm so sorry, Casper.
It's the A-E letter where they're combined in one. There'd be a rule for that. What would the sound be? But
But how do you make a KJ sound? That's also hard.
DK
That
is correct, though, for Denmark.
Mhm.
And
Oh, at least we
I've
got
told
that
you
bit
this
right.
before that we had a Danish exchange student at our school and his nickname was Denmark.
Classic.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah,
His real name was
just like we
Chris,
called-
I think. So it's like, you could just call him Chris.
Just call him Chris, or like anything to do with his personality or hobbies. That's where a nickname would come from? But no,
All right, I'm on a pronunciation website. I don't think you can hear this through the recording, but I'm just going to listen to my headphones. It sounds like Entia.
Entia.
Enkia. Jakob.
Enkia.
Oh, sorry, there must be a famous person called Jakob Enkia because they're asking how to pronounce that. But if I combine that, I would like to thank Casper and Kia
Great work.
from Aarhus. Appreciate it.
Have we given him a
Thank
wagon?
you, Casper.
Because if not,
No,
I
yeah.
want to do Warhead lollies, the super sour ones.
Oh, I love them. I love the green
Oh,
ones.
okay. No, actually, I don't want to go that specific. All warheads. So it's super hot, super sour, all the colours.
Also, what about nuclear weapons as
Yeah,
well?
and nuclear weapons. Yep.
Okay.
So not like all lollies
No.
or candy, just
All
warheads.
warheads and whatever Dave said. Weapons.
Weapons.
Yeah.
Casper,
Okay.
I trust you.
All right.
Look after them, please, Casper. Very important.
I'm just a bit disappointed there's no Skittles or something like other types of candy, but it's like,
Well, there's 3 more wagons, Jess. Come on.
you're right. Well, I would love to thank from Corvallis in Oregon.
Oh, appropriate? No. Yeah, Oregon. The Oregon Trail, right?
Oregon Trail.
Yeah. I'd love to thank Jason Gears. And Jason's got a Skittle wagon. Ha ha!
Oh. Like
Wait,
10-pin
no.
bowling? Or...
Oh, fuck. It's okay. No, Jason doesn't have a Skittle wagon, but he does look after the bar wagon.
Oh.
We've got a pub.
Yeah. I like that. Pub on wheels.
How many beers
Yeah.
on tap?
12.
Wow, that's pretty good for a
pretty
wagon.
good.
For
Yeah,
a wagon,
yeah.
that's really
It's
good.
great range.
And 5 ciders, which is unheard of. Usually you might get 1 or 2.
Wow.
So stoked by that.
Thank you for your work.
Nice
Jason
one.
Gears, more like Jason Beers.
Very important role. I'd also love to thank from Stony Stratford in Great Britain. I would love to thank Chuffy Mullins.
Oh my God.
Hold the phone.
What?
Chuffy.
Whoa, this is like right at the end. The winner just floats in and beats everyone. It's been an episode chock-a-block full of the best names of all time. And then just coming in right at the end, Chuffy Mullins.
Chuffy Mullins.
Oh my God, that knocked me off my chair.
Wow.
It's hard to then think of something appropriate that Chuffy might be in charge
Well,
of.
let's think of something that's, because we've done, some of these haven't been all that useful. So I'm going to go with something very useful. Chuffy, of course, has a wagon full of dirt. The best building material out
Of course. Exactly. He can put up a floor at a moment's
Yep.
notice.
Yeah. Chuffy, that may not seem like we've given you an important role, but as we've learnt, we
there.
really
Yeah,
have.
Chuffy, you're our dirt.
You're our
You're
dirt.
You're a dirt
You're
man.
the dirt.
Or
You're our dirt
woman.
merchant.
You're the guardian of the dirt. Guardian of the
That's
ground.
important.
You are the patron saint of the, what's another word for dirt?
Soil.
Soil.
You're the patron saint of soil. That works.
The soil sizzler.
The soil sizzler.
What does that mean? The soil sizzler from from Stony Stratford.
You're the the mulch merchant. Mulch isn't quite right, but you see what I was saying.
It's close.
the same ball. Obviously, the ballpark's in a different different wagon. There.
Different wagon. Finally, I would love to thank from Fort Collins in Colorado.
Named after Phil Collins, Fort Collins. Not a lot of people know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think Colorado.
I love learning.
Yes,
In
Colorado.
Ethan Gilbert's wagon, one rule: no jacket required.
Yeah, I'd love to thank Ethan Gilbert.
I've jumped ahead there. Have I?
That's all
Sorry about
right.
that.
I think maybe, I had an idea and I lost it. Damn it. I had an idea. I got nothing. You guys got something? for
Mini
Ethan
golf
Gilbert?
hole.
I was going to say a gym, but mini golf is way better.
No, half and half.
Oh yeah, gym and mini golf
Yes.
wagon.
But like, so the gym, it's all the upper body stuff that's hanging from the roof, so you can do pull-ups and stuff. But on the ground, it's like lots of mini golf holes.
Fantastic.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so
clever.
good.
Yeah, really using the space.
Yeah, exactly. You have to in a wagon.
You must. Well, I mean, they did also say that one of the wagons was basically 2 stories. So maybe it could be like a mezzanine gym, but mostly mini golf.
Yeah, I love it.
Perfect.
Oh,
God, Ethan, you're my new
thank
fave.
you to all of you. We'll see you in your wagons. We're all obviously on this road train as well. And we're leading it and we're doing things a little bit differently. We're going to go the way.
Yeah.
So we should get you there before winter.
I'm never taking a shortcut
No.
again.
That's the main takeaway from this.
I think the main takeaway should be you can take a shortcut, but if a close friend says, hey, that shortcut's fucked, listen, that's the takeaway.
Yeah, that probably is good. Don't say, you've always been jealous of me. Don't say it. If you think it, the problem is with you. Okay?
All right, so the only thing left to do is to thank a few of our long-term supporters. You can join the Triptych Club if you support us at the patreon.com/dogonpod for 3+ years straight on the shout-out level. There's a few to induct this week. The way this works, if you're new to the show, I'm standing at the door with my clipboard. I got the door list on there. I'll lift the velvet rope as I mention these names. They run in. Dave is the hype man inside. He will give them a big hype up, make them feel good about joining the rest of the crew inside. Jess is behind the bar.
We got some hotties in line tonight. All right. I'm high-fiving them as they line up.
I also hype Dave's hype manness.
I need it.
So,
Jess is behind the
I'm a mess backstage.
Jess is behind the bar with she's working up some cocktails. She's got a small staff there, of which I am one, and we make these cocktails as well as put together some little food.
Oh, can I make a request?
Sure.
Donna kebabs.
That makes sense.
Oh, fucking hell. Well done.
Been thinking about them all week.
Here's what I was planning on doing.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, no. I was like, when you said, can I make a request? I was like, sure. But my plan was, as soon as you said it, I was going to go, no. Because I just thought that'd be a bit of fun. But you've absolutely nailed it. Yes, Donna kebabs.
Thank you.
Perfect. I also always struggle to think of something. So thank you for doing the work
And what
for
kind
me.
of cocktail we have? Probably something salt. What's the one with salt around the rim?
Margaritas.
Salt Lake City margaritas.
Margaritas are my all-time favourites, and also haven't had them since I gave myself alcohol poisoning. And that was a while ago.
That feels like a good reason to stop.
But I love them. I love
Isn't
them.
it? That's the worst when someone you love hurts you like that.
Yeah. I'm like, how could you do this to me, Margaritas?
Well, there's
We were best
few
friends.
there's a dirty half dozen to invite in. So without further ado, let's bring him in. Oh, sorry. Dave also books the musical act.
No, I can't believe they said yes. But we got Pearl Jam on tonight.
We did not.
Yeah.
Can't find a better man.
Yeah.
Will they let me sing Better Man with them?
Yes.
She dreams in color, she dreams in rain.
When I saw Bruce Springsteen, they brought Eddie Vedder up on stage. He was just in the crowd or something. He was standing near us.
Eddie, is that
yeah,
you?
it was at quite a big show, and he was standing just near us. And then they obviously hooked it up beforehand, but he came up and sang a tune. That was fun. Not as good as
And then were you like, I'm next? I assume.
you're
I'm
working
in
your way
line
through the
here.
crowd. The best one though was the first time. Sorry, I've seen him twice. The first time, supported by Barnsey himself, and sang a
my
tune with Barnsey.
God.
Now that's a life highlight
That's
for
cool.
Bruce.
Yeah.
So Dave, you ready to hype these guys up? As
Come on, Dave.
Pearl Jam's playing
Yes.
alive to celebrate the few survivors. Spin that black circle. Here we go from Victoria, BC, in BC, Canada. Darcy Williamson.
Oh, I'm feeling victorious tonight.
Yes!
Woo!
From Poulton Lafieldy in Lancashire, Great Britain, it's Tasha Hargreaves.
Ooh, we won't be grieving tonight because Tash Hargreaves is
Or
here.
Hargraves.
Dave.
Well, no one's going to the grave tonight because Tash is here to
Yes.
keep us safe.
I've been
Yes.
absolutely
Yes.
spooked on the pronunciation of that word because that's the family name in the Umbrella Academy. And I was saying Hargraves, and then someone said it's actually Hargreaves. And then I looked it up and they spell it differently. I'm spooked. I've got no confidence for Hargraves at the moment. Anyway, let's keep moving along.
We got him covered.
From Chandler in Arizona in the United States, it's Jamison and Tawny Estes.
Oh, could we be any more Estes?
Yes,
Yeah.
we did it. Yes.
I like. Oh, so the new deal is now Jess is the hype man for Dave, who's the hype
Yeah.
man for the new
Thank
people
you.
coming in. From Fond du Lac in, I'm going to say Wisconsin in the United States. It's XZ Zeal. Oh my God, XZ Neil.
Well, I'm fond of Exedniel. There was something, the run-up of the name took so long, I forgot what I had early on.
Do you want me to give you another run at it? From
Yeah,
Fond du Lac in Wisconsin, the United States, it's XZ Neil.
Oh, I fond of like this guy.
There'll be no lack of fondue at this
Yeah,
party.
okay.
You've used lack for like, even though in that same thing is fond, a word meaning the same thing.
Yeah, well, I said I'm fond of like this guy. Like I'm fond of this guy.
Okay, great. Forget what I said then. From Welwyn in Garden City, Hertfordshire, Great Britain, it's Adam Stamford.
Well, when you come along, I feel good. Adam, high five.
And that's all. No, sorry, there's one more from Nyack in New York in the United States. It's Gregory Gritman.
Welcome, Gregory.
Fucking hell,
'Cause
he nailed it.
New York,
yes,
New
New
Dave.
York State.
Yes,
Yeah.
Dave.
The state's so nice, they named it once. One of my big hit recent tweets. About 70 likes. So everyone's
bad.
probably already seen it. Go on to Twitter, follow me, and also like and retweet that tweet if you wouldn't mind. Jess is pushing
Thank
her
you very
Instagram.
much.
Follow Jess on Instagram. Jess Perkins. Follow me on Twitter.
I need it.
Matt Stew _art.
And follow Dave on the street.
Hell yeah. You know where I'll be.
Follow Dave's Instagram. But that brings us to the end of the episode. What a fantastic time we've had here. Now that we're officially in Blocktober, aka Blocktober Grace, aka Blocktober Grace period. Thanks so much for joining us. I feel good. The celebration doesn't end. It's going on all of Blocktober. We're here to
right.
have a Donna party. Let's do it.
Yeah, can you believe that the 5th and the 4th episodes have already been this big? What could possibly be in the top 3? It's going to be great to find out.
It's fascinating to see how the people have voted because there's a few surprises in there. There's definitely some big ones that I was kind of expecting, but a couple that I wasn't either, which is hard to have 2 different couples when there's only 3 topics to go. Doesn't quite add up mathematically, but that is the end of the episode. Dave, let's boot this baby home.
Get in contact anytime, guys, at dogoonpod.com with links to our social media and our Patreon, our YouTube. It's all at dogoonpod or /dogoonpod. Come say hey. But until next time, we will say thank you very much for listening, and I'll say goodbye.
Laters.
Bye.
This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates. I mean, if you want. It's up to you.